from the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, Disney.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome in once again on a Saturday night, as we say, a rockin' awesome night right here on our network. And boy, we're so glad to see so many people coming in already. Thank you for coming in on your telephone lines, listening into a radio network, as we say. But also, we are now on YouTube and Facebook, and I want to thank all those people for coming in as well. Now, I thank you for wanting to spend your evening here at the Six Screens. We've been doing this, as we say, for 20 years, and we are here because you are here. Well, I'm out in Chicago. Normally, we're up in Boston, but we came out here to Chicago. It's 1,000 miles exactly from Boston to Chicago where we go. And we made it out here in 2 days. We had a good trip out. Susan and I drove out, and the traffic wasn't bad at all. And we got here in, well, about 15 hours is what it took. But anyways, we're here, and we wanted to do the show. We can't miss a Saturday night. So what you're looking at the hotel room. Those are pictures behind me. I forgot my sign. I wanted to bring the sign, but I locked the house all up before I left, so I couldn't get back in without a real problem. But I wanted to bring the sign, but we are so glad we got friends out here in Chicago area too. And I see a lot of people listening in here tonight from Chicago. So I don't know, maybe it's a convention. Well, they're having a convention right out here in Romeoville, the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's an assembly hall. And Susan, my wife, used to go to that assembly hall. And actually Susan helped build it. So I'll get into it. I met some witnesses today in Popeyes, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes when I talk about the convention. But, I'm going to tell you something. It's fascinating to me. The witnesses keep putting those tentacles out, and they keep grabbing people left and right. And there was I'll get into the whole family there, and all dressed up nice. And I could tell they were witnesses. I had my daughter with me. She says, "Dad, I think those are Jehovah's Witnesses over there." And sure enough, they were. And so they're all over the area I'm in right now. I'm actually in a suburb outside of Chicago. It's called Bolingbrook. So anyways, I'm glad I'm on here with you, and I'm glad you're here with us. So let's talk about a couple of things here just to start off. I'm going to talk about, well, anyways, I wanted to mention this to you before we get started. We have the convention. Now, I don't want to beat it to death, but I have to tell you, almost every day I am getting requests for tickets. Now, if you want to come to the Still Alive in 2025 convention, I want you to write JW2, that is, to jwworldnews@gmail.com, and that will get the wheels moving for you. I'll get your tickets out. We had a man I mentioned last week, I believe. He wanted 10 tickets. And all this week I've been sending tickets out. And boy, we're lining up speakers. People are writing me saying, "Rick, I want to speak at the convention. Can I do that?" So if you want to speak at the convention and you have an extreme story, something that really would rock everybody's boat, because what we want to do with this convention is we want to bring things up that are so outlandish, so shocking, that people will really be glued to their seats, so to speak, and they'll be able to really connect on how evil the Watchtower is, because they continue to paint themselves as a pristine, pure organization, but we all know their image has been really tarnished in the last few years. So if you have a story of extreme abuse, maybe you were abused in a real terrible way, maybe you were shunned and caused all kinds of problems in your life, maybe you just had issues as a child or whatever. But if you got a story of abuse, by all means, write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com. And the convention is going to be a lot of fun, friends. We already have just about 300 people, and we have room for about 350 people in the main auditorium. So if you're really thinking of getting tickets, get going pretty soon, because I want you to be with us in the main auditorium. Did someone want to speak up and say something? Go ahead, you're on with us.
Oh, I had a book review this week. Jonathan Leger, I'm going to spell the last name, Leger. He is on XJW Analyzer, and he's written a wonderful book called The Broken Mirror, Rediscovering Our True Nature in Christ. His writing style is beautiful, and if people want to really have a kind of Bible study book, it's very nice, and it's at Amazon.
Yeah, well, Pitch, you're quite the book reader. So that man's name, it's John Ledger. It doesn't look like
Ledger.
that. Ledger.
Jonathan Ledger.
John, yeah.
It's The Broken Mirror, Rediscovering Our True Nature in Christ, and it's at Amazon. And again, his writing style is just beautiful.
Well, I'll tell you, he's a great creator, creating ex-Jehovah's Witness films on YouTube. And he's a good friend of Jimmy Bell's. Did you know that, Pixie?
Yes. I liked him on the round table, and I watch XJW Analyzer when it's on. And then also this week, I went back and looked at the actual Watchtower that was giving those strange instructions.
Yes, sir.
And the direct quote is,
Yes.
Anything strange, unpractical, or unreasonable. And they want the people to be obedient to that. Now, when I grew up, my dad said, if the whole neighborhood's jumping off the bridge, we're not doing it.
Hold on, Eric, I'm on the phone here. Okay, just don't you worry about it. We know what's happening. Hey, Pixie. Okay, sorry, Pixie. That's just Eric on our line right now. He's not doing a program tonight, but we knew that he's traveling back from Tennessee, so we're looking forward to him coming on again. That's Eric.
Well, congratulations to Eric and that wonderful family he has now.
All right, good calls coming in like crazy. You're not only here on the line, but coming in my phone as well. But anyways, Pixie, thank you for coming in and giving us that idea of the book. And I just saw that too. And he just did a new video as well. So he's really getting very active. And hopefully we can get him up here to the convention. I'd love to meet him in person. Well, you're on here with us. We're just talking, in fact, folks, about I'm here in Bolingbrook, Illinois. It's a suburb of Chicago, and actually it's right on the line here with Romeoville. Romeoville is where the assembly hall is for the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, my daughter and I were at Popeyes today, and so we're having Popeye. You like Popeyes chicken? Boy, it's good chicken. And anyways, we're sitting there, and my daughter says, Dad, that looks like Jehovah's Witnesses over there. So I turned around, I said, it is. I mean, what is it? What's our fetish with Jehovah's Witnesses? You know, even though we left, it's like, what is going on with that? But I turned around, I said, I think you're right, Jamie. So I said, hey, you guys, you really look good. I want to commend you. Boy, you're all dressed up and neat looking. I said, that's really nice to see that. See, this is the image the witnesses have, right? So I said, you guys church people? They said, well, and they mumbled it. Years ago, you were proud to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. But today, you kind of, are you a Jehovah's Witness? Well, yes. I mean, this is how it goes. They're not really happy to tell you. They know the internet is the great equalizer. And they know that all of a sudden, all of this critical, negative, cynical news is coming out on the internet, on YouTube, on these posts you see online. So they're not too happy to say, yes, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. Would you like a pamphlet? They didn't even offer me anything. They just, in fact, they kind of mumbled they were Jehovah's Witnesses. I didn't hear what they said at first. I said, are you Jehovah's Witnesses? And they said, yes. And they got in the car and they headed off to Romeoville. But I mean, usually, what would you do? Well, let's put yourself, what would you do if you were eating 20 years ago and you were one of Jehovah's Witnesses and all of a sudden the guy says, hey, you guys really look good. Well, wouldn't you connect with that? Well, thank you very much, sir. We are Jehovah's Witnesses and we really take it serious to make sure that we dress good and groom good. We want to really be able to connect with the world and let them know that we have the truth. That's what you would probably say. They didn't. They got in the car and made a beeline to the convention center. I mean, seriously. But anyways, the convention, the Jehovah's Witness convention, we know they started in late May. They start early out here, not only here in Romeoville, Illinois, but up in Portland, Maine, they also started early. They always start early up there as well. But you say, well, what is going on the convention? Well, there's a few things going on the convention. First of all, I want to tell you they're speaking an awful lot this year about kind of getting that door-to-door work going again. Because we know during COVID, they kind of gave the witnesses a break. Well, it's COVID. You really couldn't go door to door. I mean, you're not going to go door to door, wear a mask. So witnesses were writing letters. For 2 years, they did this. And remember Hendricks, the Watchtower public information director, and how he would tell the world through these paid infomercials on TV how great the witnesses are doing during COVID. And even though it's COVID and they can't go door to door, they're making big inroads and bringing people in. That wasn't the truth. It really wasn't the truth. So now they're thinking, wow. Well, first of all, Hendricks isn't with them anymore. I talked about that last week. It seems like the Watchtower shut down the public information department. Really? Now, they used to use that department as kind of like a buffering zone. There was so much bad, cynical news coming out on the internet about the Jehovah's Witnesses that they figured, well, we better start even advertising and paying some of these local stations and newspapers to print good things about us. And that was Hendricks' job. So evidently that wasn't working. Well, what I get out of that is that it's not worth the money of the Watchtower to spend because it's just too overwhelming. It's just too overwhelming what's coming across the internet. So don't even spend the money. Everybody knows, one time when I was a Jehovah's Witness, I wasn't stuck up, but I did think that I knew everything there was to know about religion. And I remember they would even say to us, I remember an elder getting up on the stage. He said, anybody in this audience, there's no reason why you should feel any way inhibited or shy going out in service. He said, you should walk 10 feet tall down that street. And when you knock on the door, you have to know that you're smarter than anybody behind that door. It could be a pastor. It could be a priest. It could be anybody. You're smarter than them. And that's what they said. So they had us all like real soldiers for them, just like Hitler did with his SS men. So I'd walk down the street. I took it seriously. I walked down the street and I really thought, friends, I wasn't stuck up, but I really thought I had the truth. And maybe you guys did out there too. Maybe some of you guys listening in right now. And if you're listening in from the Romeo Convention area, if you're in the area, I'm staying right down the street. And you can stop in and say hello to us. I'm at the Country Inn Suite. It's right down the road. So there you go. So, but I think we do. I'm looking at my telephone now. I got a lot of people calling in here tonight, and I'm looking at some of these numbers from this area. You might be that, but you don't have. I don't want to intimidate you. You don't have to come and meet me if you don't want to, but it's okay. So, anyways, what I'm. Oh yeah, go ahead. You got something to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Stephen. How are you?
Good, Stephen.
Good. So you know that you're in my neck of the woods. I think I live about 30 minutes away from where you are right now.
Is that right, Stephen? Where do you live?
I'm in a south suburb called South Holland.
South Holland. I see signs for that. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm probably 30 minutes away.
Wow, Stephen.
I would definitely love to see you this weekend, and we can make some arrangements and get together. That'd be great. I wanted to point out something. I didn't think I mentioned this before, not too long ago. Like your wife, I also assisted with the building of Romeoville Assembly Hall there. And the reason why they're starting early is that they used to have district conventions at actual facilities, sometimes at White Sox Park. We used to meet for many years at Balmoral racetrack, Hawthorne racetrack, excuse me. And then they even had us going way out, which is far northwest, almost Wisconsin, to DeKalb, which is a college up there, and we would use their small facility. But I guess there's not enough attendance to merit paying the money for that. So they've been having both the circuit assemblies and the district assemblies at that same facility that you're talking about in Romeoville. So that's why they have to start so early, because they're having the district assembly. That building was only meant for circuit assemblies.
So
Even when I was attending, I noticed that they had switched to that building, and that was a really big indicator to me that this organization was losing people, because they couldn't even justify going out and renting larger facilities anymore.
Yeah, well, I was mentioning that, Stefan, to my daughter today even. And, we've been talking here quite a bit about conventions. Of course, we're talking a lot more as the convention season goes on. But last year, people were sending me pictures, and I'm sure they'll do it again this year, of all of the empty seats. And it really has got to be embarrassing for the Jehovah's Witness organization to see that. Now, when I was a witness back in the 1980s, 90s, early 2000s even, you couldn't really even get a seat at a convention. And especially having children, back in the 1980s, going into a convention with 5 children was like, that was a disaster. In fact, there were many times you couldn't even sit together. But today you can walk in, plenty of seats, sit where you want. And I mentioned on here before how silly it is. They come up with all these crazy excuses that the witnesses always have some way to explain things. And one man wrote me, in fact, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, one man wrote me and he said his mother went to the convention, and when she came home, he said, "Ma, how was the convention?" She says, "Well, there wasn't a whole lot of people." He says, "Is that right?" And the son's kind of like a PIMO. He says, "Ma, there wasn't a lot of people." She said, "No, but that's a blessing from Jehovah." So he says, "Well, Ma, how can that be a blessing from Jehovah? There's less people there." So he said, "Well, it's a blessing because we had more room to stretch out and put our feet up on the seats, I mean,
Unbelievable. I tell you, this was a few years before I finally woke up. But I noticed at my Kingdom Hall that I was attending that the attendance just continued to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and there'd be people that you were kind of used to seeing, and all of a sudden you just wouldn't see them anymore. And there was this newly appointed elder, and this was at the exact same time when they made that announcement about how congregations' loans had been forgiven, but they were expected to continue to contribute the same amount that they were sending, which is the biggest con game I ever heard in my life. But it was right around the same time. And so I asked this newly minted elder, I figured he wasn't jaded yet. Maybe I'll actually get an honest answer on it. So I asked him, I said, "Hey, what do you think is going on with why, our attendance continues to dwindle?" And he looked me in my face, and then he said, "Well, it's that time of the year where people go on vacation." And well, I said, "Oh, so you think our attendance is dwindling because people are on vacation?" "Well, it's that time of the year. Kids get out of school, people go on vacation." Okay. So I waited till about that August when kids are back in school, and we still have the same low attendance. And I asked him again, and he just looked at me and walked away. So they are fully aware of the fact that they're losing people. And like you said, yeah, they'll come up with any kind of answer. But in the back of their mind, they know that they're losing. There's just no doubt about it. And the fact that you don't even have enough people in Chicago, as big as the city is, and the surrounding suburbs, to justify going out and renting large facilities like ballparks and college stadiums and racetracks, that you can't even justify that anymore. Then of course that lets you know right there that you're dramatic people.
well, Stefan, now that excuse that the brother gave you about, it's vacation time and people are going away and all this, I've heard that before. These guys, they never want to admit that they're on the losing side. They got to always be on the winning side. And what fascinates me is even this family that I saw today. Now they didn't have that cult look. I even thought they might have been like Christians, but they didn't have that real cult look. there's a cult look out there. You've seen it. We've all seen it. Maybe this might, I can't make a judgment here based on 6 people, but maybe the cult persona demeanor is leaving. I mean, I can't make that basis on 6 people, but I'm going to be watching. I might even swing by that Romeoville Convention Center tomorrow, and I want to see if these people have a cult look. Now you say, well, what is a cult look? Do you believe that Jehovah's Witnesses do have that? Have you ever seen it? I think. Well, what do you think, Stephen?
Yeah. There was always the thing that kind of bothered me the most. And this is slightly different than what you're talking about. But the thing that used to bother me the most is it just seemed like the men were just not masculine enough. And I know that I've heard Gilbert say the same thing, so I know that I'm not the only one who notices it. And I remember one time going to a witness event, and it was a skating event. And I was just going to pop in and pop out because I don't roller skate. And there were 2 events in the same. So on one side it was witnesses, on the other side it was just general public. And I was on the outside, just seeing if I recognized anybody. And you could tell the witnesses from a mile off. They just weren't. They don't walk masculine. They don't talk masculine. They don't carry themselves. It was just the weird thing. That's what I noticed more. That everybody looks the same. Everybody kind of dresses the same. Everybody kind of talks, especially when you get out of the meeting. Now, when you're away from the meeting, maybe after a couple of beers or something, people might start to loosen up. Maybe get closer to the real them. But they step foot next to them. They all sound just like these guys, on the videos there. They all just kind of look like that and sound like this. That's the thing that I noticed the most. And that to me screams culture. And we all have to act the same, pretty much dress the same, speak the same way, carry ourselves the same way, and we all have to talk the same, say the same message. That's what screams cult to me. I don't know if that's what you mean or not, but that's what screams cult to me.
Well, you brought up the men, not all, but so many Jehovah's Witness men do look and act effeminate. I've seen so many witness men myself that are like that, but not all. I'm not making a blanket statement, but
not all. But it's part of what the cult does is they change who they change who you are. You got to be like them. You got to be like these governing body members in that very slow, rhythmic, almost hypnotic way that they speak. That's just not normal. People don't talk like that.
Oh no, it's
But yet, when you get into this organization, you better. That's how the more you become like them, the higher up, that you go. But it's totally abnormal. It gives you that step wise why. But it's just programmed and brainwashed, and they just all act the same way. It's very bizarre, and you don't notice it when you're in it. You don't think anything of it. When you step foot out of it, you're like, oh my God.
Well, you see it. Well, Stephen, thank you. Thank you for checking in with us. I appreciate it. Let's go to 315 in New York. Go ahead. You're on with us, 315. 315 on with us. All right. We get 615.
Hello, Rick.
I'll go ahead. Yes.
Hi, Rick. This is Fran.
Hi, Fran.
Did anyone mention or did you notice if they had their badges on? Because we were always told to wear our badges no matter where we go.
No badges. No, that's interesting bringing it up. No badges. But they weren't ready to make a defense for their faith. That's the one thing I noticed. I'm not trying to beat it up here, but I would have had an opportunity if that was me in Popeyes 20 years ago. I would have been all over I would have been all over these guys like a cheap suit. I mean, I would have been saying, man, you guys, would you like to know more about the witnesses? Why don't you come to the convention? That's remember, Fran, the experiences they used to give during the convention. Such and such a couple went out and met some people in a restaurant, and they're here with us today. I mean, you know that.
Yep. Yeah, same thing happened to us, but they always drilled it into our heads about wearing our badges and wearing them at the restaurant, wearing them all over. So if people, see that you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses and wear it proudly and don't forget to put your badge on So that's interesting. Maybe they don't do that anymore. Who knows? Were they young people, Rick?
It looked like there was a brother there. It looked like he could have been an elder. And then there was 3 older women, not old, but I say they middle-aged women. And then there was two or three kids. Yep. But they all look good. They really did. I have to tell you, they stand out like a sore thumb. I mean, that is, and you know, I mean, we were talking just 2 years ago, and we were really looking at the people going to the convention to see what they were wearing. And I seen a lot of them 2 years ago that were dressed down. But I'm going to swing by there tomorrow more than likely. I just want to see. But this family was well dressed. They weren't, in fact, the ladies, they had beautiful dresses on. And geez, they looked good. And, you know, they didn't have slacks on. The man didn't have a beard. So I don't know. Maybe many are just saying, no, I'm just going to be the good old witness like they used to be, you know?
Wow. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Well,
You had your program tonight.
yeah, in fact, we're here.
Safe travel.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fran. We might even pop in and see you on the way home. That's a possibility.
Yeah, we were hoping. Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, I'll let you know because we went right by Utica there when we were coming up. So I got a rough idea where you are, but we'll
Yeah,
stop
or
up.
we can meet you. We can meet you near the thruway. So either way.
All right. That'll be wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you. Was that 615? Was that you, Eric? Are you driving down there in Tennessee?
Yeah.
I thought that was you.
I'm on the road right now, but I was listening to what you're saying. I forgot you were on. And while Audrey and the family and I were in the store, we ran into a couple witnesses on 2 different occasions. They invited us to the convention. Well, Audrey is blacklisted from the convention. She can't even step foot in the doors or Kingdom Halls. She reported abuse that was going on with the elders, and they shut her down, disfellowshipped her, and won't let her talk to anyone. There's one Kobe of the congregation who is involved in witchcraft and goes to like a, what do you call it? The place where they stick the pins and the little dolls. What do you call that?
Voodoo dolls.
Like voodoo, a voodoo doctor. He was going to one, encouraging some of the friends to go, and that's just one of the things that she caught. Never mind some more serious stuff. And so these 2 people are telling us that we ran into their witnesses. You know, why don't you come to the convention? But we can't even step foot in there. Now they're shocked because Audrey was a pioneer for years, like 5 years, and auxiliary, and like kind of a pillar in the congregation for witnessing and stuff. And they're like, you know, come back, and they're confused. And when we tell them what's going on, they start to have doubts, these 2 people. And they both said interesting things, the same thing, but Eric and Audrey, where would we go? And that's such a trap. And I'm noticing that even when they have doubts, they're still clinging on to things that Watchtower uses, you know?
Well, that's so because she abused an elder who, I mean, let me get this right. Because she abused an elder who was going to a voodoo.
Because she saw abuse and went to the elders about this elder and a couple elders. They all formed up and ganged up on her and kicked her out and disfellowshipped her and labeled her an apostate because they're all in cahoots together. What I found is it seems like we know that Jehovah's Witnesses organization is a cult, but it seems like these men in Maine have started their own cult within a cult, and they're controlling people.
So you've been up there in Maine now.
They're even encouraging drugging and using pharmacy stuff and saying, well, you know, try this pill. And when I looked up some of these pills like lamotrigine, and I've had personal experience with it, these pills are highly, highly like bad for you, especially if they're not. If you like, a lot of them are anti-seizure medication, and they're still being used. They're still being used for people, and you know, always consult the doctor. But that's what these people are doing. These elders.
So let me get this right. I mean, you're saying the elders are encouraging people to take pills?
Yep. And in fact, when Audrey got off of her medication and she was exposing them all, they were encouraging her to get back on pills and stuff. There's a lot of nastiness going on in Maine.
So you notice a difference from Tennessee up there in Maine, huh?
It's all the same, but I do notice a little bit of a difference, but not much. It's all the same now. I used to notice a difference between the South and the North back in the day, but I think since JW.org started coming around, it's changed.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Eric, that is shocking. I can't believe.
I gotta pay the toll, but I love you guys. I'll talk to you all later.
Oh, you be careful driving. We'll see you. Yeah, thank you, Eric. Thank you very much. Well, that's Eric. Friends, can you believe some of this stuff? Would Eric make this up? We know Eric. He's just no way he's going to call in. He's driving up from Tennessee up to Maine. I mean, he's got better things to do than, talk about an elder. I mean, this must be true. He wouldn't be saying it. I hear things coming in here all the time. And I know some people probably listening in said, what? There's got to be more to the story. Friends, why would you think? Why would you think if Eric is certainly coming forth, as we believe he's certainly telling the truth here, why would an elder, or why would a congregation, body of elders, why would they encourage people to take medication? Any ideas out there? Anyone take a shot at it? Why would they encourage people to take medication?
Well, Rick,
Yeah. Is this the king of dots?
what happened to me? Yeah, you know what happened to me. I've been cyber attacked though, and I cannot comment anymore until I figure out what I want to do with my system. But two different congregation overseers, when we were getting ready to leave, they tried to convince us all you need is medication, psychotropic medication, Prozac, antidepressants, Paxil, whatever. But yeah, it happened to me. The mouth of two witnesses. And he said there's cult within a cult. Well, my congregation, I was shocked, like a couple of years after I became a ministerial servant, one of the elders, he says to me, you should just listen to so-and-so, the congregation. He's the smartest person in the hall, so we just let him make all the decisions. So this is what happens. You get someone who actually becomes a little Christ-like person at the hall. And everybody just listens to him and goes along. Now, Rick, you know why I'm calling.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you got a poem for us tonight.
I'm up to 192 poems, but I'm not. Okay, this one is literally the most close to 100% true poem that possible. And I just wrote it like 3 hours ago. It's called Don't Call Here. I got the call the other day, a Florida witness who knew my name. He woke up because a hurricane came, and now he knew the end came, that the end was to blame. It's a coming, he said. It's a coming. I can't read my own writing. And as usual, it was the same refrain. You need to get back to the meetings now. As if that would save me somehow. I didn't want to laugh too loud because it's the thought that counts. Kind of like field service hours, but that and 2 cents won't buy you a cup of coffee in the real world, which he had just experienced. After his retirement, he moved to a hurricane zone. But I feel for him. I've known him ever since he was 10 and never did 5 hours a month since then. But he's become stupider now after 40 years. And that's a real testament to my Watchtower friend. Hold the faith to the very end of the next end. And next time you think the end is near, but please just don't call here, even if it's only once every 10 years. Because I haven't got time for your religion of fear no more. You can think about it, but don't do it.
Is that part of the poem?
Pretty much 100% accurate, according to what my friend Steve Cook, who's married to Raymond Franz's great niece, he got the call. Hadn't talked to the guy in 10 years.
Wow.
Maybe 9. I don't know. And told him, you need to get back to the meetings now. I just went through this terrible hurricane. The end is near. Raising the truth without one grain. Okay, I'm going to read one more poem, Rick. And it's your choice. Do you want a hard poem or do you want an easy poem?
Give me a hard poem.
Okay. You asked for Diary of an Ass Clown. Give a man a title and his brain cells die. it happens again and again. It's not a miracle from on high. It's a curse on all of us. It's the reason why many follow till we die. The curse of the ass clown. He flops his feet, laughs at our plight, farts in our face, followed by his horn. And if he gets his way, he'll introduce you to his personal corns. He's a man you don't want to meet, but he demands that you fill a seat at the Kingdom Hall. You can't say no. You can't miss a day, because the ass clown demands to fart on you today. Hot air in, hot air out. Theocratic garbage in, theocratic garbage out. But just imagine 9 ass clowns butting in to your life like they is your best friend, but uninvited. Then the ass clown starts again, accusing you of secret sins because you can't tolerate his horning in on your life. Ah! Well, the ass clown claims he means well, so that's why I'm going to do well by him. I'm just going to reveal all his secret sins on the spit screen. My horn's louder than yours, Mr. Ass Clown. Ah!
Oh, what, I mean, how is it? What does your wife think of? What does Evie think of these poems?
You know what, Rick? Anyway, I never read her that poem.
Well,
I'm going to read one more. Hey, I'm going to read one more. Okay, can I do that?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Night for poem.
Go ahead. Do one more.
The last suit I'll ever wear. Never owned one, never worn one, and I never considered it that much fun. And then it had begun. The suit police got me, took me to Goodwill, and dressed me to kill. I was one of them. My transformation had begun. I could now be considered a true Christian. People would have to take notice. My suit would be their focus. They would listen to me no matter how stupid I may be. And if they didn't, they would suffer an eternal dark misery. I was starting to like that suit. A suit is a powerful thing in the right hand. Gives you the right to call yourself a prince or a king, or go on an extramarital fling. Yes, the power of a suit is eye-popping. But my suit wore out, and so did my welcome. And suddenly, my perspective started to change, because life without a suit was not the same. My neighbors respected me more. My wife gave me kisses at the door. And, oh, I forgot to say, yeah, I disassociated myself last Monday. Yay, life is good.
Well, you have, I don't know, you are a literary genius. You are a literary genius, King of Dots.
I was doing that with all the talk that didn't Watchtower. You wouldn't believe how much flack I got. It was unbelievable. But, hey, I learned it from Dick Steranko. If you don't know him, everything he did had humor in it. And, but, you know, I don't know. Tis for some and tis for not for others, you know. But it's all about, I don't know. I don't really think of it as anything that I'm personally doing, quite frankly. It's just out there in the collective consciousness, you know. And you pick up ideas here and there. But the bottom line is I got focused, like I told you. Focused on the enemy, which is Watchtower. And I haven't lost it yet. Been doing this since February. I keep thinking up more every aspect of the Watchtower. You know how they used to say we're like a multifaceted diamond. You turn it a little bit, you find another fleck of truth. Well, guess what? I'm finding another fleck of truth too, and I'm putting it to co-editorials, is what I call them. Poetry, editorial, slanted poetry is what I'm doing. But I wanted to let people hear those to know that the truth is so clear when you do it in some sort of coherent way, which I think my poems are somewhat coherent. But I want to tell you, I did have a cyber attack on me. I can't tell you who did it, but I will tell you this. I don't want to scare people, but I suspect it was another ex-JW tubester who might be clandestinely working for Watchtower. I know that's way out there, but be on the lookout. Be careful. Just be very careful. Okay, Rick, how are you doing, by the way?
I'm doing good. I'm here in Chicago. Susan and I drove out here from Boston. So we're out here in Chicago, and we're doing fine. It was a couple-day trip, but we had a good time. We're in a hotel doing our program tonight. And I think it's coming in good. Most people are saying it sounds good. I just made a little audio adjustment. So those that are listening in on Facebook and YouTube, you should be able to hear it a little bit better now. I brought the mic a little closer to the phone. But before you leave, King of Dots, I wanted to tell you that suit poem, that's one of the best ones you ever did. It really is. That a lot of people can connect with that. They like that. So thank you for sharing that with us. That's King of Dots. Say hello to your wife. Say hello to Evie.
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rick. Have a good night.
You too, King of Dots. Well,
It's Julie.
Chewy. Gee, I haven't heard from you, Chewy. I'm glad to have you on. Yeah. I'm glad to have you on here with us tonight, Chewy.
Yeah. Well, you know, he did that. King of Dots did that poem on that Goodwill on that suit. That is absolutely true. I know. I just try to dress up, return visits from Goodwill.
Well, that's true, but you know the strangest thing is, Chewy, they were witness that was schizo at going to Goodwill. They thought they might have got some clothing or something that was demonized. I mean, really.
Right. Oh yeah. Make sure I don't have nothing that's demonic in the pockets or anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But on that pill thing, I can see an elder going haywire on that stuff. If he can get a couple sisters on those pills, he can get a little something maybe off them during the month out in service. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
how about maybe?
well, I'll tell you, I didn't think of that. My mind didn't go there, but my mind did go. You know, the longer you can keep these people in a fog, the more water you can pull over their eyes. You know.
Right, exactly. I keep them dumbed down.
Yeah.
Keep them dumbed down, and then get a little something at the same time. You know?
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. It's good to hear from you, Chewy. My goodness gracious, I kind of missed you. But
yeah. So I think you start the program a little later than normal. It's like 7:30 instead of 6:30. So that kind of limits me because my wife is like, you know, David, where are you at getting the grocery? That's what I'm doing now, is getting groceries.
She's still in it pretty deep, huh? She's still a witness. She's starting to head for the exit door or what?
Well, you know, he is opening up in so many ways. It's hard to explain. It's like nuances. You know, it's like nuances because I'm married to her. I said, where did that come from? All these conversations and stuff, and she's missing meetings. She goes to about 50% of the meetings now. And one of the comments that she made, she kept buying all these dresses, going to the meetings and stuff. And I was like, this has been like 3 or 4 months back. And I went, you know, why do you keep on buying that stuff? You've got a closet full of stuff. And she said, this is the only place I know where I have peace is in the kingdom. That's what she told me. That's about 3 or 4 months back. She told me that. So she's going through some stuff. We're all right. She's getting there.
All right. Well, that's good to hear, Chewy. I know it's very difficult, but thank you for coming in here to the Six Screens tonight. Thank you. And give me a call when you can, too, okay?
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Well, it's Chewy. We haven't heard from Chewy for a while, but you're on the Six Screens Telenetwork. My name's Rick Farron, and you're probably noticing the set here tonight. You're probably looking for the flashing lights, the electronic message board. You don't see that. I'm here in Chicago. I was going to take some signs with me, but I thought I'd make it kind of conservative looking tonight and see if we can't grab some new ones coming in. And I have to tell you, if there are people listening in from the convention, I think in Romeoville, you know, what I'm finding here, folks, and I've been seeing this for the last few years. Now, we've been doing the program here for 20, but what I've been noticing is when conventions start up, we started getting a lot of area calls, the area code. What do they call those? Area code, I guess. Yeah. So the area codes I see coming in from Chicago. So why would that be? So if you're listening in, if you went to the Romeo convention and you listened to the Jehovah's Witnesses, you heard their side of the story. Well, listen in tonight and get the other side of the story. So you'll be hearing people calling in. Well, anyways, I'm just going to get back to the convention, talk a little bit. What really seems to be, it's not the theme. Pure worship is the theme of the convention. But there's some threads that are running through the talks. And two of them that caught my attention. We talked about one last week. We'll touch on a little more this week. But right now I want to talk about the kind of trying to get people back, really to go door to door. And people don't want that. That is one of the worst things in the Jehovah's Witness religion, is going down the street, knocking on doors all over the place. Not everybody likes doing that. I mean, we talked about that numerous times on here. Nobody likes, you're an uninvited guest. Let's go with that. No one invited you and you're knocking on the door and, you don't know, you're really there to convert the person. Let's face it. The Watchtower would tell us, well, tell the people we're not there to convert them. But that's kind of lying, right? It would be lying when I can remember even saying it. I didn't like it. But people say, are you here trying to convert me? No, I just want to share a message with you. I want to, and I'll tell you, did you guys, I'll tell you, you had service meetings just like I had. They were nothing more than a sales meeting. But when you go out in service, and what they would do on the service meetings on Thursday night, I had mine. And then on Saturday, they prepare you. It's like a sales meeting. It's a sales pitch that they're trying to get you to use and be able to be effective with. So one of the pitches I always used, and I remember this in the service meeting, they said, what you want to do is think about some of the worst things that you read in the newspaper. I said, wow, that's kind of weird. So some of the worst things, and then show up at the door and say to the householder, boy, did you hear about that robbery over next to that Walmart store the other day and 2 people got murdered? Isn't that a wicked thing? Isn't the world wicked? Wouldn't you like to have a better world? And of course, who's going to say no to that? So when you're a salesman, you got to get the person to say yes as many times as you can. So wasn't that a terrible thing, that murder? Wouldn't it be nice to have a world where that doesn't happen? Oh, yes, it would be, sir. So that's how you get into your pitch, see? Give them the good news of the kingdom, so to speak. But the door-to-door work, so many people were so happy that they were kind of getting away from it and going to the cart witnessing. But now it appears, at least there was numerous mentions of the door. There was actually a talk about it, and there's numerous mentions about the door-to-door work. So that's one thing that caught my attention. I don't think there's anybody listening to this program tonight, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or whether you're listening in on a radio network. I don't think there's anybody out there that like the door-to-door work. Now, the other thing, let me just go over here to my news notes. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight was another thing that's going on at the convention. Just give me a second to find it here. Hold on 1 second. I got a whole lot. Okay. All right. So anyway, it has to deal with the Watchtower study this week. And actually, it's last week, and I believe they're studying it again tomorrow, the same article, the same understanding. Now, what the Watchtower is doing through their study articles of the Watchtower in the last couple of weeks is they're actually saying how Jehovah has a big hand in helping you, and you don't really have to get careers. Now, we always know the Watchtower has said that, right? But they're saying it really making it profoundly noticeable to the people of the conventions that don't go out and get a better job and don't worry about the high prices that are coming down the road because of inflation. They're more or less saying Jehovah will provide, and they're really stressing that. And they're really making the witnesses feel very guilty if they're trying to better their way of life. Now, right now, there's a lot of people doing job changes. They're They're trying to better their lifestyle. They're trying to find more ways to make money. A lot of former Jehovah's Witnesses, as well as active witnesses, they're trying to make a few extra dollars delivering Uber, or perhaps driving an Uber car, or delivering food. This is the way people are making extra money. But the Watchtower is trying to put the kibosh to all of that. They're saying, don't really get more jobs than you need. Don't really go out and try to make as much money as you need. I mean, can you imagine?
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, this is Donald here. I got a question for them, though. If they're saying Jehovah is going to handle it, does that mean that the Watchtower is going to help pay their bills?
Well, they don't come out and say the Watchtower, but what they're really saying is don't get that extra job to sustain your lifestyle. They're more or less saying that.
While they're sitting out there raking in billions of dollars, telling you that.
Yeah, well, they're making the brothers and sisters feel very guilty. They're putting them all on a guilt trip. And yet at the same time, they're encouraging them. Well, don't get an extra job. You don't have to worry about the extra money. We all know that Jehovah is going to provide. So they're expressing, don't do something that could make their life more detrimental. And yet at the same time, they're encouraging them, saying, but don't worry about it. Jehovah will provide. And we've heard things like,
don't they realize that Jehovah gave people a brain to use to get work with? Duh.
Yeah, Donald, that's the thing I'm thinking here. You would think right now the Watchtower would soft pedal this, but here it is in a Watchtower. Here it is in a Watchtower publication. Now, this same article, from what I get here, last week we talked about them talking about retirement. And they were saying, it might be good. Now you get mixed messages from the Watchtower. Last week they were saying that on retirement, they were saying you might want to put a little money away for retirement. But now this lesson comes along in the same kind of format, same thing they've been talking about last week. But now they're saying, don't get that extra job. Well, how are you going to put extra money away if you're just scraping by and you're trying to save and for your retirement? It's impossible. So you get a mixed message.
You wouldn't be able to.
No, so this is the first time, Donald. No, it's not the first time I've heard this. That this is brought up many times, that the Watchtower is they send mixed messages. It doesn't make sense.
It goes along the lines of don't get higher education. I'm sure they're still saying that.
Oh yeah,
they're frowning away from higher education. But there again, I would love to go up and tell the governing body, well, you know what? Everything in this building that the governing body is sitting in was required a college education. You got computers, you got cars, you got medical, you got doctors there at Watchtower, you got nurses at Watchtower. All those people. So if you don't believe, so I tell them if they don't believe in education, then get rid of all those people, get rid of your buildings, get rid of your cars, walk to the Watchtower, don't ride a horse, whatever you got to do. Get rid of everything that requires education, and there you go.
Well, you know what they're doing? They're actually pretending. I'm going to put the word pretend. That this Watchtower article is pretending to reassure the faithful ones, the loyal Jehovah's Witnesses, that God will provide for their material needs. And all they have to do, I mean, who wouldn't love God to actually help us with our material needs? But now they're saying in the same breath here that, don't go out and get more jobs and take up more time away from the ministry. And now at the same time, they're saying, if you obey, this is how God's going to protect you. And this is how they're saying Jehovah is going to basically pay your bills. They're saying that if you obey Jehovah and you suffer and you don't really prioritize, making more money for your family, you don't prioritize your career, then Jehovah's going to step in. And basically they're saying those bills will be paid, Donald. Those bills will be paid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't think it works that way. I mean, sure, God helps us when we help, if we use our brains that God gave us and go to school, learn a trade, learn a skill or whatever, then yeah, God's going to help us that way. And I think God doesn't help people miraculously, because He does, but not all the time does He do that, though.
You're right. And, even as I would going over this article, I'm saying, right now, there is a lot of issues with finances. There's a lot of people in this country that are really feeling the effects of high inflation. And I'm not trying to embellish it or overemphasize it. It's true. I wanted to get my wife, Susan, she loves road maps. And I know there's GPS. There is, you can get on, you can get your directions anywhere you want from the internet. But she likes to hold a map as you're driving along so she can see where we're going. So I stopped. I tried to buy a map. You can't even buy a map anymore. I went in Walmart. Walmart doesn't have a map. I went into a truck stop looking for a map. All they had was only a trucker's map. They wanted $39 for a map, and I'm serious, $39 for a map, and the prices. Am I the only one noticing this? They've been going up like crazy on everything. Everything you touch.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Cracker Barrel's got a free map.
They got a free map?
When you go to Cracker Barrel for your coffee and breakfast, ask them, they'll give you a free map.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well,
You are.
You are. I'll probably have to do that, Pixie.
The conference has been locked.
Yeah, I probably have to do that. I mean, is it like a road atlas or what?
It's a map of the U.S. and it has every Cracker Barrel on it, but it's an accurate map.
All right. Well, I just might go in Cracker Barrel and get one. Thank you, Pixie. Thank you. But you can. Yes.
I just want to say something. This is something that just really irks me when I hear Watchtower talk about this trust in Jehovah, rely on Jehovah, Jehovah will take care of you. I would love for Watchtower to give me one, maybe even two examples of how they themselves trust in this Jehovah that they talk about. Because whenever they need money, they go right to the witnesses and they try to guilt trip them and to give them more money. Oh, if you want to be God's friend, then you give of your material resources or whatever the case is. But you never heard them say, brothers, we've got these deficits, we've got these bills, things that are outstanding. Can you all please take a moment and say a prayer to Jehovah and pray that he will somehow provide these things? You never see them do that. They go right to that. Then they'll go to the government, and in one hand, they will castigate the government, and they're the harlot of Babylon, and they're under the satanic control. And then on the other hand, they have it extended so that they can get money at some charitable organization. Well, why is it that you don't rely on Jehovah for whatever it is that you need? Why are you accepting money from the same government that you claim is under satanic control? That makes no sense.
Well,
how are you a part of the United Nations if you say that you are relying upon Jehovah? Why would you go to the United Nations and whatever the lie that they came up with about a library card and all that? Doesn't Jehovah lead this organization? Or Jehovah needs a library card and books to lead the organization? It's nonsense. And the fact that people just accept it is mind-numbing to me. But back to the point. I would love for Watchtower to show how do they wait on Jehovah and rely on Jehovah when they're doing nothing but taking money from people, taking money from the government. Anybody says something negative about them, they take them straight to court and they sue the refugees out of them. Where is their reliance on Jehovah? They don't rely on Jehovah. They don't sit back and tell you to rely on Jehovah when they don't do it at all.
They don't have it.
That just angers me to a point that I can't even put into words.
Well, you're right.
They don't have it. They don't have trust in Jehovah.
You're absolutely
no, they don't.
They don't have to. They have catering.
Mm-hmm.
And you just can't understand why the rank and file don't see that you're telling us to wait on Jehovah and rely on Jehovah and not take a job and not benefit ourselves. But we don't see how you are. Every time you need something, you're coming to us. And I don't think the average rank and file knows how much they are in debt with the government, but if they did, that'd be something else for them to think about. You're not waiting on Jehovah. You're taking advantage of every opportunity that you can to make money. But you tell us to be basically even at a level of subsistence, waiting on God, because we don't see you waiting on God at all. If somebody can give me evidence of how Jehovah's waiting to wait on God, I'd love to see it.
Well, let me just, yes.
Hello?
Who's this?
Hello, and Rick?
Yes.
Hi, I don't mean to cut across. This is Hitley. I just want to add to what the brother's saying. You're absolutely right, because Watchtower has been trying to get as many of the members of the witnesses to sign over their last will and testaments and everything,
Sure.
you know, like
Sure.
their vehicles, their homes, the jewelry, everything to them. And
The
all
property,
Watchtower's going to
stocks
do
and
is
bonds.
convert your property, exactly, and convert it into whole card cash and put it in their bank accounts. So I just thought I put that in too.
Well, thank you,
I mean,
Italy.
they are so deceptive. It's just, you know, it's just sometimes I can't remember the word that I want to give you, but it's just too much to swallow. It just really is the hypocrisy. That's it.
Well, Stefan, let me tell you this: as I went over this article, I tried to break it down, but explicitly. In other words, getting right to the point with it. This study article totally demands trust in Jehovah's provision. Now, get a hold of this. It warns people against real world solutions to their financial problems. They're saying that if you disrupt your spiritual routine, that Jehovah doesn't have a good future for you. I mean, really, they're threatening people. So listen, if you're running into problems, you're a husband and wife, you're running into financial trouble. I mean, you sit down at the table, honey, you know, we might have to get more work done. I might have to work some more hours. Isn't that the way to solve some of these issues? But the Watchtower is telling these people that don't let the world disrupt your thinking when it comes to spirituality. That is unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So,
But you know what? I can tell you firsthand, I'll be extremely brief and then I'm done. I can tell you firsthand that whole thing is starting to wear through. When I transferred to the last congregation that I attended, right out of the gate, I had lunch with this couple. The brother was an elder, the sister was a regular pioneer. And she was going on and on about how difficult things were financially. And when her husband was around, she would whisper to me, he needs to get a real job. Because I'm sick of this, and I'm sick of having this broke down car. And in the time that I was there, they lost their house for whatever reason, and they moved into an apartment. So this is starting to wear thin. This whole thing of living at just above subsistence level is really starting to wear thin with the witnesses. And I'm glad for it. Hopefully they'll smarten up and they'll start doing the things that they need to do to be able to live a comfortable, decent life. Thanks, Rick.
well,
The governing body needs to listen to their own words when they say stuff like that, you know. But they don't listen to themselves at all. They just dish it out, thinking, "Oh, we're the bosses. We're telling them what to do. They better trust us." All this garbage. But you know, it's going to come back on them someday. It's really going to hit them hard one day.
Well, you know what they do here too, and then they always did this when they come out with a study article. You know, first they'll tell you how you should act and how you really should follow the direction of the elders and Jehovah's organization. But, you know, just to say that without backing it up with any scriptures or any spiritual admonition, the Watchtower will always come back near the end of the article and start telling you who had faith like that and who didn't want to give up their spirituality. So they're using Moses here as an example and how he trusted in Jehovah and how Jehovah provided for him. And they'll use certain Bible characters to really get a person to say, well, you know, if the Apostle Paul or if Moses did it, I can do it. So, you know, it's spiritual manipulation, but the Watchtower is certainly doing it right now, and they did it 50 years ago, and that's how they get people to stay in. But anyways, you're on the Six Screens Telenetwork. And Donald, I just wanted to talk to you. You've been writing to me about do you have internet access that we could probably have you give a little talk at the convention while you're on here with me? I don't know where Donald went.
Now, what was that access? sent you something?
So you've been writing me this week about perhaps giving a small talk at the convention, and
Yeah.
you said that you wanted to do it through the telephone line, but it would be too disruptive to do it there. Can you do it through the internet?
I could, yeah, over my cell phone. I could.
All right, well, we'll talk more about that. I just wanted to see if that was the case because you're a good guy. You really want to, you come on every week and you talk. So I'd love to have you at least say hello to the friends. And you did write a book, and we should bring that to their attention. All right, I'll be in touch with you.
Yeah, I love coming on Six Screens. I learn a lot from you guys too.
Yeah, well, thank you, Donald. Thank you. Well, we'd love to have you with us. All right, I just wanted, speaking about the convention, friends, I'm not going to make this a convention advertisement, but you've been hearing a lot about the convention, the Still Alive in 2025 convention. Now, you got to come. Yeah, you really want to start making your plans. I know it's expensive, but it will be live streamed. Don't worry. If you can't make it, you will see it and you'll see most of it. But I'm going to tell you what's got me really excited. Well, the convention's going to be good, meeting all the ex-witnesses, meeting people that are just like us, people that have been touched, as we say, by the tentacles of the Watchtower. Now, the thing that's really got me really stirred up and really excited, this movie company, I mean, I don't want to overrate it, but, they're telling me this is an international film. It's going to be presented in a number of languages. And I kind of like the idea. It's like a documentary, but there's also a story to it. And so I was told that they want the 6 screens in the movie. So we will be in the movie. In fact, they want me to recreate, well, not this scene you're looking at right now on Facebook. The scene I've got with the electronic message center and the 6 screens logo and all. They like that. They said, could you recreate that at the convention? So what they're going to do, maybe they want some people like to call in. So they want me to reach out to all of you people. That is the movie company in Spain. And they want me to reach out to all of you guys. And they would love to have you tell their story. Eduardo, he's the director for the English version of this. And he's reaching out. He wanted me to reach out to all of you folks and see if you'd like to have a part in the movie. You can be a movie star, right? So that's a good thing. Who doesn't want to be a movie star? So you get to be a movie star. Susan's over here and she says, Rick, I don't want to be a movie star. And maybe there's a lot of people that don't, but there's a lot of people who like that. I mean, we know right now the Watchtower. Well, they're making movies, they're making videos, and you know what they're doing? They're really trying to get the young ones connected. Well, come and you can be in the Watchtower videos and all your friends are going to see you. And so, everyone would like to get their 15 minutes of fame, right? So here's a chance. If you have an idea and like that, well, if you have a story to tell and you want to tell it in the movie, the door is open. The door is open. So by all means, give that a shot. And I've been getting almost on a daily basis people wanting to come to the convention. So I think that's a wonderful thing. Well, I have to keep telling you the Watchtower is in a free fall. I don't know if I have to tell you that or not. I think most people know it. And the Watchtower is on life support. They're not the Watchtower organization that we all knew it was. And when you come across stories like I came across this week in the news about the Jehovah's Witnesses, well, they had another problem with a Kingdom Hall down in Arkansas. And let me see if I can't find that for us. So, yeah, there was a story down here in Arkansas, and it happened. There was a fight that broke out in the Kingdom Hall. I'll just kind of paraphrase this story for you. But to give you an idea, let me just go back here a little bit so I can give you a little more information on this. Let me go back here, and that way I can give you the whole information that you need. So we're talking here about a member of the Jehovah's Witness congregation in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Well, what happened is a man, he had a wife. The wife was a member of the Kingdom Hall, and something ticked him off. So he wanted to come back and beat up one of the brothers in the hall. Now you say, what's ticking people off? Have you ever been in a hall where the mate was irate or a family member was irate because their loved one was going to the Kingdom Hall, and these people thought that the Kingdom Hall people were in a cult? Well, I'm going to tell you something. That happened right up where I live in Wilmington, Massachusetts. And there was a young girl, and she was going to the meetings. And the brother, he was an older brother, and he did not like the idea of his young sister joining the Jehovah's Witnesses. So what he did is he went down, he got a gas can, filled it up with gasoline. He went down to the Wilmington Hall in Massachusetts, and he tried to burn it down. So he lit the hall on fire. It went out, and they caught him. And so they got the fire out in time. So the door burned. They had to put a new door on. But I'm using that story in the 20 years of reporting here on the 6 screens. There's been so many incidents where there has been problems in Kingdom Halls. And a lot has to do with irate relatives upset because their wife, cousins, brothers, sisters, whoever, became Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, also, there have been people go back, I'm not encouraging this, burn Kingdom Halls down, firebomb Kingdom Halls, shoot up Kingdom Halls because they've been disfellowshipped. You know, we reported on that for 20 years. So now we got another one down here in Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas, and the man's wife was a member of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And this man, he went in and he had a bone to pick with, I think it was one of the elders. So they started a little boxing match there, you could say. So the other brothers broke it up. But then he says, I'm going to come back. I would never, suggest anyone to threaten Jehovah's Witnesses. But he said he was going to come back and kill people here. That man should be really locked away for a while. You don't say stuff like that. But why are people getting so ticked off about the Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, let me tell you something. When you have a family, and everybody out there has a family, I don't care who you are, you get somebody, you had a mother, a father, brother, sister, cousin, uncle, or even a close friend. When you have an organization that can take something that's so important to you, and what is more important really than family life, a close friendship, and have an organization come in and tear that apart overnight. Oh, you're not a witness anymore? Bye. I mean, it's that cold. So don't you think this is one of the reasons why we are hearing stories like this story out of Arkansas? That's it. That's it in a nutshell. Now, do other churches have that problem? I would say so. But I'd be willing to also say that the witnesses have that problem multiplied by 10. They really do. The Jehovah's Witnesses have ticked off a lot of people. And I have got a man, if all goes well, that's coming to the convention. And this man was disfellowshipped. In fact, he may be given the keynote speech at our convention. And he was disfellowshipped at a young age. He got backing again, then he got disfellowshipped again. So he has a mouthful of things to say. And, when you're young and you get disfellowshipped, it hurts more. Imagine that. What's the youngest you ever heard of a person being disfellowshipped? I never heard of a real young one being disfellowshipped. I've heard of young ones being baptized, and they would be, young ones being publicly reproved, Susan, you're right. But what's the youngest? I'm just curious. Well, what's the youngest you've ever heard of a person being disfellowshipped? 15 is the youngest I heard. And that's even a little too young. But I would think it'd be real cruel to disfellowship anyone under 18. I really do. That wouldn't be showing any love, consideration at all. A person very immature. How is it that they can be held responsible? So what's the youngest? Anyone out there want to speak up on that? What's the youngest? Go ahead. You're on with us. Who is this? Yes.
I don't have you beat by much. She was 14 years old, my brother's girlfriend, and she kept pleading to the elders that she was being molested by her Jehovah's Witness stepfather, and they didn't do anything about it. And then the police got involved like a year later, and that man went to prison, and the witnesses the elders immediately reinstated her. But 14 is all I got.
Oh, that's cruel. That could upset that young girl the rest of her life. She could go through the rest of her life in pain in a healthful condition. But the Watchtower does that, friends. They do it. And, you know, they're so eager to baptize. I mean, I've heard of an 8-year-old person getting baptized. Maybe you heard of some even younger getting baptized. But for the Watchtower to get someone baptized, they think they would have the right to disfellowship them at a young age too. But if I was an elder and I was approached with this type of a situation, there's no way that I would disfellowship anyone under the age of 18. I mean, even the laws of the land kind of even go along with that to some degree, right? Geez, a person isn't going to be held responsible if they're a minor, but times they are if they're repeat offenders. But even the laws of the land have some sympathy on that.
That's part of the problem. If somebody's 11 and they get a bar mitzvah or they get confirmed in the Roman Catholic Church, you know, that's like a rite of passage. But they don't kick their young people out. And in some of these lodges, you have to be 21 or 18 before you could even join some of these esoteric orders. So I think the witnesses are really unique in a bad way in the way the young people are treated.
Well, it's a gauge we could use, Pixie. You know, you really to belong to an organization, we were never able to really question what we were even joining. And you've heard people here in the sixth. You've heard people here on the sixth screen say, "I joined the Jehovah's Witnesses, but I never knew they disfellowship people. I never knew that."
They really should have to be 18 before you join anything, I think. You know?
Well,
again, these churches do have a confirmation or a bar mitzvah at 11, but they're not putting corporate rules on that 11-year-old and then kicking them out when they're 16 or 17. They have teen programs and they have a different path for them until they're an adult. And I have all my life thought it was very strange that the witnesses were applying corporate adult things to kids. It's really not correct. It's not correct for their mental state, physically, legally, and I think it's going to backfire on them eventually.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have coming to the convention people that have been disfellowshipped. I didn't hear of them being disfellowshipped real young, but we have some younger ones in their 20s that we'll be talking about what happened. And I mean, even the government of Norway, we know they really looked at this young witness who was under 20 years old and how he was disfellowshipped and kicked out of his house. That's what created the Norway firestorm for the Watchtower. And that young man went to the newspaper because he was so ticked off what happened to him. And he talked to the newspaper reporters about what happened to him and how he's being shunned and he has nowhere to live. He was homeless. And the newspaper picked up on it. And then what happened? I mean, that's the basis of the story. All the facts might not be exact. But anyways, the government picked up on it. The government picked up on it and ran with it. And they made a big inquiry to the point that the Jehovah's Witnesses could lose, and it's still in the court systems to this day. Hopefully they'll come to a rendering within a year, but it's going to cost the Watchtower a lot of money. So they're going to have to think very seriously about ever disfellowshipping a young person again.
Also, they've only got 2 Watchtowers this year. One is going to be on world peace, and the other one is going to be on loneliness. So I don't know if the world peace one is going to be New World Order or what, loneliness is a thing that happens these days. It's true since COVID. But those are the only two magazines they're going to have this year. And then there was a court case in New South Wales. That's down under, like where Australia is, down in that region. And that was kind of an interesting case because I think the patient died, but the court said that the Watchtower documents were vague. So they have pulled their blood documents out of the, they had some blood documents in their Kingdom ministry. And it looks like they may rewrite that some, but I'm still not going back.
Well, I'll tell you, Pixie, the Watchtower right now, I mean, they're in the midst of rewriting a lot of things and going over a lot of thoughts and things that they've done in the past. And they know some of these things kept people in, and they know that the authorities will come down on them strong if they don't start changing some of their policies. I mean, they changed the term. It's still the same, but they don't use the word disfellowshipped anymore. I mean, we still use it here on the 6 screens, but technically what they do now, the term is removed. They see what it is. Don't think the Watchtower does this stuff on the wing. And I'm out here in Chicago now. That is the world headquarters of McDonald's. And then why do I even bring that up? Why do I bring it? Why would I bring that up? I bring it up because did you know McDonald's has a think tank? Did you know that?
Yes.
Yes. In other words, what it is. Well, how do you think they come up with all these chicken crunches and tenders and all this other stuff they have? This is not done on the wing. These guys spend millions.
I'm sure they're testing a new sauce right now.
Yeah. So anyways, the think tank, and what it is pretty creative people that work for the McDonald's Corporation. And so they all go into this room, and I read about it. It was in the story of the Big Mac by Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's. And he talked about this think tank where people go into the tank, very intelligent people, and they talk about ways to improve food items and make it better and what have you. So I think of that in terms of the Watchtower. Do you think they have a think tank, Pixie? Do you think that the Watchtower has a think?
Oh, they're down to every button. They're looking at everything they do, I'm sure. They're aware. They're aware of us. They're aware of every policy they have. I'm sure they are.
And they don't.
It's not a safe place, so we don't need to go back.
Well, what got me thinking about the think tank is changing the word disfellowshipped to remove. I could just imagine some of these officials going into the think tank. Geez, brothers, we're getting in trouble with Norway, and disfellowship sounds pretty bad. I mean, if you disfellowship someone, it's not even a real word, by the way. It's kind of a word we use here in the ex-witness world, but we know what disfellowship means. But if you disfellowship, that sounds pretty bad. But if you removed, it has a lighter feeling to it, So the Watchtower and their think tank, they came up with this. And don't for a second believe they don't.
What would sound nicer, saying he hopped off or jumped off the bridge or hopped off the bridge?
Well, what do you think? I would say hopped. I mean, at least he was in a good mood when he did it, right?
But the thing is, what I'm saying is, it's still the same process. He hopped off, which jump would be hopping off. So, nevertheless, he died in the end. So, yeah, it sounds like a nicer way to die. You hop off, rather than jumped off. So, yeah, disfellowshipping, removal, it's the same thing. It's
well, there's so many things I can think of, and I didn't really even put this together in my little narrative here tonight. But there's so many things I can think of where they had to come up with it in a think tank. They just couldn't do it on the wing. And I'll tell you what, one of the first things that comes to my mind is the back cover of a 1992 Awake. I believe it was August, but I can't remember for sure. But I know it was 1992. And the back cover talked about the Nephilim. Not Nephilim, but Nephilim. And what that was, that caused a firestorm at the Watchtower. And they didn't do this on the wing. This was carefully crafted. They brought this up in the think tank. And you say, well, what is it, Rick? Well, what is the Nephilim? Well, if you go back into the Hebrew scriptures, the Nephilim were people who came and helped the Israelites build the temple. But they weren't Israelites, but they were helpers. They carried the wood and they were laborers, and they called them the Nephilim. So Brother Loesch, that I had a conversation with, as I've talked about before, when I went to visit him, he told me that their phone was ringing off the hook because of the Nephilim. Now, I'm sure they had to come up with go into that think tank to come up with the idea. And now they got to go back into the think tank to see how they're going to handle this. So they went back into the think tank and they come up with the idea, well, we better find, because people didn't like the Nephilim because they weren't anointed. And many witnesses say, look at this God's organization works through anointed people. We can't have non-anointed ones running this. So they went back into the think tank, and now they were looking for a bunch of younger brothers, so to speak, that could be part, who claimed to be anointed in good standing, and make them a governing body member. So they're always going into that think tank. Can you think of anything else? Is there anything else out there that you think the Watchtower went into the think tank on? I'd love to hear it. In fact, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you 2 points. If you can come up. Now, you're listening. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll give you one. You probably know this. You probably just forgot about it. Whatever the last publication was that they wrote about Jesus, there was a video about them putting that thing together. And there was a brother who said that they had just escaped the name. But when you have a group of people sit down and look at the product or look at the movie first before you show it to the actual audience, whatever that group is, that's not a think tank group, but like a trial group. But he specifically said that. And he mentioned how there were non-witnesses, and they sat them down and they had them either read the publication or watch a video, whatever the media content was. And then he specifically said afterward, they took feedback and then they tweaked the publication based upon the feedback that they got from that trial group. And I spent a lot of time around marketing people. All the terms that you will hear used in marketing, he used all those exact same terms. So I knew that they were working with some kind of consultancy that said, hey, you need to bring people in and read this stuff because this sounds awful culty and this is not really appealing to people. And so they did, and then they adjusted things accordingly. So yeah, they definitely use all the same marketing tools that any business would use to make their product as appealing as possible to people.
Well, Stephan, you used the term trial balloon. That's something like a think tank. But now a trial balloon, that's another thing. See, that's a marketing term. And let's go back to McDonald's. All right, so McDonald's says, hey, let's come up with this McRib sandwich. But, it might be a complete flop. Some people like it, some people don't. So rather than have it go to the 10,000 restaurants across America, they say, let's send a trial balloon off. Let's sell the McRib in Tampa, Florida. And we'll see how they like it down there. Then if they like it, we'll try it in Fort Lauderdale. Then we'll try it in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They'll try it at first. It's a trial balloon. The Watchtower does the same thing. They'll come out with an idea, but they want to see how it's going to go over. They're not going to put a message out. For example, I'm going to give you something. I'm thinking right off the top of my head here. I'm thinking in terms of, we first all on the 6 screens heard, and other YouTube people and Facebook people as well, it was brought up in the Watchtower in, I forget the month, but 2013. If you hear something that is not logical from a human standpoint, go along with it. Jehovah will bless you if you do. Don't question it. So I'm thinking you just wouldn't come out with a statement like that and print it in a Watchtower for the whole world to see. That could backfire right in their face. So they probably, did this maybe, I don't know where, but say Podunk, Iowa or something. They probably sent it out to a congregation. Oh, well, they read this. We talked about it. They got it. Oh, geez, this is wonderful. Let's try it. And then it spreads. So that's trial balloon. Corporations use it. And of course, the Watchtower uses it. Now, there's been many trial balloons. What do you think? Go ahead.
Absolutely right. And then I had another comment, something that Pixie, when we were talking about the number of magazines that are going to be printed. Now, if you're a member of the rank and file, especially if you're an older person, you know that the sole responsibility of the so-called governing body, aka faithful and discreet slave, is to spiritually feed the flock. Now, we all know that the current magazines, all the literature they're teaching has all been boiled down to somewhere between a 5th and 8th grade reading level comprehension. So that's not even food anymore. It's what I call puree, spiritual puree. It's not even food anymore. It's nowhere near what it used to be 20, 30, 40 years ago. Then you add to the volume of literature. We all remember how much we had so much literature coming out, you could barely keep up with it. You had the Watchtower and the way coming into your mailbox so quick, you didn't even get done with the last one. We used to joke about it. Didn't even get done reading the last one. Now that's unusual. And then you go to the district assemblies and you get 2-3 publications. Now they're all down to, I think it was 1 or 2 new magazines for the entire year. And then I heard on somebody's podcast that they're even reprinting stuff, which I think you told us they were going to start to do. I think you heard that from somebody, and sure enough, that's what they're doing. They're reprinting from whatever, some other point. So you're not even making food anymore. You're going into the deep freeze, getting out some old stuff you made, a while ago, and thawing it out and trying to serve it up like it's fresh. So if people can't really see that this organization is not spirit anointed, spirit directed, whatever words you want to use, what more does it take? They don't even print literature and offer literature anymore. The so-called preaching work is non-existent. They're reprinting articles from the 70s and 80s. I mean, and half the stuff that they printed, if you were to go and bring up, they will tell you it's old life. It's now considered almost apostate. And you can't even talk about it. What more does it take for people to see that this whole thing is just bunk? What does it take?
Well, I'll tell you, it's you hit the nail right on the nose. I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, it's going to take more articles in the Watchtower. But I came across this video. Oh, this video on jw.org. See, they try to really make it sound like the Jehovah's Witnesses, the only people on the planet that are honest and upright. They try to do this, but there was not an article, but it was a video I was watching on how a man lost his wallet, and a Jehovah's Witness saw the wallet and picked it up, and rather than Jehovah's Witness keep it, he found the man's address and got it back to him. And they were really commending the Jehovah's Witness, and I'll commend the Jehovah's Witness too. But they were making it sound like they in the video that if this was a worldly person, they never would do that. Well, I got news for you. There's plenty of people listening to this program. I'm gonna tell you the truth. The Watchtower. I said this even before. They really put everybody on a guilt trip. And even to this day, I feel the guiltiness of the Watchtower. If I walk out of the market basket and I have a can of string beans or something that I bought and I didn't pay for it, I would walk back, and I'm not trying to sound like Mr. Goody Two-Shoes here, but I'm just trying to show the analogy of this. There's plenty of people. I'm not a witness now, but I would still be honest. If I found a man's wallet, I would make sure I got that back to him. I would go out of my way to bring it to him, not because I'm expecting a reward or anything. I just feel like, well, this guy can pay me back by doing the same thing someday. So, but the Watchtower is making it in this video sound like, Jehovah's Witnesses are the only ones that would do this. And they were even suggesting that, worldly people today, and I do admit there's plenty of worldly people today, you lose your wallet, it's gone. But to more or less suggest that Jehovah's Witnesses are the only ones. But, I come up with a lot of things I see out there, and I say something, they really, but it's propaganda is basically what it is. If you just look through it, they're not the the only pure worship organization on the planet that they say they are. And, you know, another thing I've been seeing here on Reddit, I don't know if you guys get into that or not, but a person was bringing up thoughts of, do you remember some of these conventions and some of the things that took place? And a lot of the sisters were ticked off at a bunch of conventions. I can remember this too. I believe it was up in Portland, Maine that I went to. And what they would do in the sisters' bathrooms is they would cover them over so they couldn't, the mirrors, that is, they couldn't look in the mirrors because the sisters were taking, you know, too much time prettying themselves up and looking good. So a lot of people, really, sisters in particular, hated that when they did that. But there were other things too. They brought up the fact of, remember the food tickets we had and how we used to, you know, they came in like a little package and you would buy, I don't know, I think it was like 10 cents per ticket. And you got like, I think there was a $10 ticket, Susan. Yeah, a $1 ticket. Yeah. So anyways, what you do is you give them a ticket, but they made out like bandits with that too, because suppose you got one of those famous convention hoagies and so they were like, I don't know, maybe they were 2 tickets, but if you know, sometimes the brothers and sisters gave them 3 tickets. So they landed up with more tickets, which really they were making more money than it was worth. But a lot of little things like that we did, and people had, in fact, remember even the brothers, they used to walk around with signs, keep moving, please, quiet, please. Remember those? Yeah. In fact, I held some of those signs when I was a younger witness as a ministerial servant, walking around. I felt kind of weird doing that because it's kind of like in your face, you know. You got a sign, you're walking around, and if a person wasn't moving, you were told to kind of be emphatic about it. You know, stick a... Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, can you hear me? Oh, what happened? Who's our contact? Are you there, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, I was just asking, is anybody there? I just want to make sure we didn't lose contact with the world here. You still with us?
Yeah, you did go silent for a little bit, but yes, I'm here.
All right. So, do you remember some of those conventions?
Yeah, I remember those conventions, but you know, I want to go back to something you just said, and you used the word that is so optimal, which is propaganda. You know, they love to act like this organization is the greatest since sliced bread. I think it was even Jeffrey Jackson who made some comment about Jehovah's Witnesses marriages being the happiest marriages. But when I was a witness, I looked around, I didn't see any happy marriages. I saw a ton of people who were just together, but not happy. And you could even prove that it was true because every now and then there'd be somebody to get a visitor, and they were very selective about who they went to introduce that visitor to. And that let you know right there how the congregation as a whole kind of felt about you. When they brought the visitor and they skipped you and went to 2 or 3 brothers and introduced them to that, or if you were a married couple and you weren't introduced, but they had this other married couple, that let you know if you were really thinking about it, that you didn't have a good reputation, you know, in the congregation. And the thing that I wanted to point out is they talk about witnesses being so great. Oh, they're just the greatest people. Like you said, it's the propaganda. But we all know witness males that would cheat on their wives. We all know witness wives that cheated on their husbands. I know elders that are on their 2nd and 3rd wife, not because they died, but because they would intentionally go out and create a situation where they could divorce that person and they hurriedly go and marry somebody else. They would steal, they would lie, they would do a lot of things. And they could sit there and justify it all under the umbrella because they're a witness or oh, we're imperfect. They can rationalize and make all kinds of excuses. And then I just started saying to myself, you know what? Jehovah's Witnesses, they are no different than anybody else. They lie, steal, cheat, fornicate, adulterate, cover it over. They do everything that everybody else does, but they just try to justify and rationalize it because, you know, they're witnesses and they're imperfect. And then I would also think about the Dysfellowshipping process that we talked about earlier. How does anybody say that a person has committed some sort of a sin and that they've been forgiven by God? How do you even come to this realization? I mean, the whole thing is just so man-made and made up in the authority that people let these elders have in their lives to do the things that they do to them. It's just shocking. But it's just propaganda. And on top of it, it's not true at all. Jehovah's Witnesses are no different than any other people on earth.
Well, you're absolutely right. And yes, in fact, that word we use a lot here because that's exactly how people can make themselves look better. You on with us? Who's this? You still with us, I believe.
Hey, Rick, are you there?
I'm here. Who's this?
Oh, okay, this is Stefan. I was talking. Were you hear me? Were you able to hear me?
I heard you. Yeah, you the last thing you ended.
Okay.
You talked about the propaganda, right?
Yes, sir. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
For some reason, I'm having a hard time hearing you, but it's got to be on my end. Okay, thanks. I'm going to go back on mute.
Okay, good. So, anyways, just thinking about some of these things that took place at the conventions. Do you remember the saving seats? Well, like I said earlier, that my former wife and I, we had 5 children, and I would get up, would go to a convention, and what I would do is I'd get up early, say 5:30 in the morning, because the doors would open at 6 at the convention center. So I'd sneak in there and I'd put a bunch of books and stuff on a seat. They didn't like you doing that. But if you didn't do it, you wouldn't get a seat. They still don't want you to do that, but there's plenty of seats. So, the attendants aren't really making it mandatory. But back then they did. I'm sure many of you guys out there remember doing that as well. And I'll tell you, there was a Reddit thread that I look at, and that's an online posting about ex-witnesses. And there's a forum online, actually. You guys know what it is. But anyways, they were talking in there about what were some of the things you remembered at the conventions. And one of the posts on there actually brought some enlightenment or actually some enjoyment to my mind, because he said he was at a convention, I guess up here in Massachusetts, where he saw some apostates out, and he was just a young man, and his mother was walking him out of the convention, and he says there's some apostates on the sidewalk up in Massachusetts. So that would have been us out there in Springfield. And he said, my mother didn't want us to look over there at those guys. And even the elders were, directing people away from the sidewalk. And he remembers all of that. But he says, I was just a young kid. He says, but I remember those apostates. He said, I'm not in the truth anymore, and I'm glad they were out there. Well, that didn't bring him out of it. But he looks back and he says, wow. And maybe, do you remember apostates at your convention? I do. My mother was the same way. Don't look, Ricky. Don't look at those apostates. And that's, they were there. But a lot of those apostates of yesteryear, they used things that didn't, and then I applaud the Christians for doing it, but by running up to a Jehovah's Witness and saying the Trinity, you got to believe in the Trinity, that did nothing to a Jehovah's Witness. It didn't. Or, read a certain scripture. It didn't do anything for them, sad to say. I'm not being, dogmatic here about saying it didn't do anything, but it didn't. I believe you have to shock them out. And, I'll tell you something. I want to tell you something. We have many signs. I'm in the sign business, and I've made many signs to bring to conventions and bring to assemblies and go to the memorial at the Kingdom Hall and hold up and protest. But I'm going to tell you one of the signs I made, a recent sign that really got attention. And I had a picture of Toni Morris on there, the governing body member. And all they put on there is, where's Toni? And that got more people asking about that. And, even to this day, I had some people just this week ask me, what about Toni Morris? Is he still, is he ever going to come back? Or why did they get rid of him? I don't know the real answer to that. That's kind of still like a secret, right? But those signs do work, by the way. Well, you're on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. My name's Rick Ferrin, and you're looking at a different set. I am in a hotel room right outside of Chicago. It's called Bolingbrook. And I'll tell you what they have here in Bolingbrook. I'll tell you what, it's a beautiful place. But I'm going to tell you something. The WeatherTech company, those guys, you see them on TV, those really good floor mats they make for cars. I didn't realize how big that company is. I'm serious. It's right across the street from where I'm staying. And I even drove down a little further today to see how big it was, because I was only looking at one building. They got 3 humongous buildings, and they make those products for cars. So I thought that was of interest. Maybe you have some WeatherTech car mats yourself. Well, I find it very fascinating, very, very fascinating that our program has been able to, go for 20 years. Like I said, in our early years, we never got much attention, never got much respect, so to speak. But now it's happening that more and more people are really leaving the Watchtower. And all of these people you see on YouTube, all of the people that are writing on Reddit, all of the different forums, the websites, the videos, Facebook, all of the posts that people make, we are inundating the Watchtower. The apostates are coming out of the woodwork. And if they bump one of us off, well, of course, there's more coming out of the woodwork. We're like cockroaches, right? Geez, you can't kill them all. There's so many coming out. But, something I found this week that's quite disturbing, and I wanted to bring it up. I didn't want to let it slide by tonight. But something very, very disturbing. Mark O'Donnell. Now, this is public, so I'm not saying anything that can't be said here because this is now private. Mark O'Donnell. Now, we all know him. His pseudonym or name he was Cedar's sidekick, John Cedar's sidekick. And he went by the name John Redwood. Was it Redwood? Yeah, that was it. But his real name is Mark O'Donnell. But the Watchtower is on his case, just like they're on our case here trying to disrupt this program. Mark O'Donnell is being sued by the Watchtower, and he's evidently quite concerned about it because his legal costs are going to be $150,000. And it's really, who's got $150,000 in the back pocket to say, here, go take care of it? Well, so he's got a GoFundMe page. So if you look that up, Mark O'Donnell, GoFundMe, you can help him out a little bit. If everybody sent $5, $10, $20, it could raise some money to help him. They're on his case. I'm not sure exactly the reason, but we know what Mark O'Donnell does. Mark O'Donnell, he was working with Cedars, I think, when this started, but I don't have all the information on that. But he would go around, he was still doing it up till recently, whenever there was a child predator problem in the Watchtower, and the person was being brought into court to answer charges on pedophilia and child molestation, Mark would show up and he would report on it and tell all of us ex-witnesses what was happening. And he does a really good job. He's a really good writer too. As a matter of fact, you might know Mark O'Donnell. He's down in Maryland. That's where he's from. I won't say where, but I know he's from Maryland. But anyways, Mark O'Donnell was in the Atlantic magazine. Now, the Atlantic magazine, that is not some local yokel newspaper or magazine. It's a pretty well-publicized world magazine. And it's like a news magazine, like a Newsweek, but a little more, they go into a little more depth. But he brought up an article in there that really exposed the Jehovah's Witnesses. And it really brought up the fact of what was going on in Pennsylvania. He brought up the fact of how they're covering all of this up. And even the fact of up in Massachusetts, where I live, he even talked about a congregation out in Western Massachusetts that had top secrets that they were hiding from the Watchtower. So I guess he ticked the Watchtower off pretty bad. So if you think about it and you want to help Mark, you can do that. You can do that. You can go to his GoFundMe page, Mark O'Donnell, and you'll get more information in there. But I wanted to bring that up, friends, tonight, because I'm going to tell you something. There's so many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that are really good activists, and I want to shout out to all of them. Anyone exposing the Watchtower, even though you might not have the same belief system I have, I will tell you right off the bat that you're still my brother. We might disagree with spirituality, but if you're fighting the Watchtower, you're on my side, and I'm on your side. And all of us together, we can make a real big difference exposing these guys. Because I'll tell you something. When I started 20 years ago, it wasn't this way. And I'm here in Chicago with my daughter, who lives out this way. And she was the one that helped us get our website, the 6 Screens of the Watchtower, together. And she was a tech girl at the time and an artist of the highest order, and put a bunch of good graphics together. And she got this whole 6 screens going. But I remember, even before I knew what YouTube even was, that this is going back to 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. And YouTube at the time, they were just taken over by Google. Did you know that YouTube always wasn't owned by Google? Google bought YouTube, and they have made billions of it. I forget the amount of videos that are putting up every day on Google, YouTube, but I give them credit for that too. But that's another thing. I just wanted to say, when daughter came to me, she says, "Dad, you want to start making these videos?" I says, "Of what?" She says, "Well, this YouTube." I didn't even basically know what it was back then. She says, "Well, we can do videos on that." And she says, "We should go down to Kingdom Hall and have you stand in front of the Kingdom Hall and just tell the people on YouTube that you were disfellowshipped from this very Kingdom Hall." You know, we got 1 million clicks on that. It really was unbelievable. And that worked. It connected. And in fact, what I did, and you guys all know it, when we started the 6 Screens Watchtower, 6 Screens of the Watchtower website, I was the first. I don't want to sound like I'm boasting here, but I will boast about this. I was the first to have a judicial committee hearing on tape. And I'll tell you what, everybody would like to hear that. We still like to hear those today, right? But back then, you know, the technology wasn't there. You can tape on your phone today, but we didn't have that back in 2005 when Satan kicked me out of the organization. So I had to go in there and kind of work my way through it. I didn't want to be a bald-faced liar, because they would ask you, "Do you have a tape recorder?" And I'm saying, how am I going to handle that? How can I get around it without really being a bald-faced liar? So when they asked me if I had a tape recorder, I said, "I know you guys are worried about the tape recorder. I'll tell you what." I opened my book bag, took the tape recorder out. I says, "There's the tape recorder." But they didn't know I had another one. So I had another one running at the same time. But anyways, we got that recorded. But, you know, I'll tell you, that website got 1 million clicks. Now, I'm going to say, there are other ex-witnesses getting 1 million clicks as well. And so, you know, we have a whole lot of people that are watching these videos, a whole lot of people reading these blogs and these forums online. And I have to tell you, even here, I've been seeing so many new numbers. I was looking at the board earlier of all of these 630 area codes. Well, 630 area code is Chicago area. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, we don't get a lot of 603s, 630 calls coming in up in Boston. Why am I seeing them here tonight? So I'm only thinking one thing. There's a convention going on right down the street. I talked about this earlier. The Romeoville Assembly Hall. There's a convention, Jehovah's Witnesses there. And I've noticed this when we have our 6 Screen summer programs. On summer eves during the convention, it seems like our numbers go up. We get a lot of people coming in here tonight. It seems like our telephone numbers go up. And I think what it is, a lot of these PIMOs, a lot of those witnesses that are physically in, mentally out, they go to the convention during the day, and then the husband and wife, they go home at night and say, "Geez, let's listen in and see what's being said about us." And then they listen in here because we're on live Saturday night, every Saturday night. So that's what I believe is going on. So isn't it kind of neat? Isn't it really neat to know that we're connecting with the Jehovah's Witnesses? And then even 2 weeks ago, we had a woman call in that was still an active Jehovah's Witness. And she wanted to talk about how her son is treating her. Her son's a Jehovah's Witness, and he's treating her like dirt. And she wanted to talk about it, how the elders aren't encouraging him to even speak to her as the mother. And in fact, the witness brother, who he got a restraining order against his mother. I never heard of that in my life. well, would you get a restraining order on your mother? I mean, I don't have, I'm only, look at, and to be fair, I only know one side of the story, unless the mother really is that bad, but maybe not. But I only know one side of the story. But a restraining order on your mother, I mean, cut her some slack, you know. Well, I think it's kind of neat. I think it's neat that we see all of these things happening in the ex-witness world. It's exploding. There's more and more meetups. We all know Fran and Joe, that they have been getting people together and making all these meetups and bringing people together that never been together before. So it's a really good thing. So we do have a number of people on, as I say, and I just want to ask you a question. Have you been invited to the convention this summer? I'm wondering, like I told you earlier about that couple, that not a couple, but a family that I saw over in Popeyes here today, and I wasn't invited to the convention. Were you invited to this convention? It's called the Pure Worship Convention. Were you invited to that? Well, maybe not. I'm just taking a look here. I got a lot of people scrolling down here on Facebook and on YouTube. Nobody's been invited. That's good you could do this. That's good you could do it, because what's good about this is it lets me know that you guys can still hear me out there. Because sometimes, what I do is I lug all this equipment around with me, and in my studio back home, I can at least get an idea of what's happening. But when you set up here, it's kind of like remote and wires all over the place. And sometimes you don't know if you're still on, but I see that we're still on. So that's good. That's a good thing. Well, let me just take a look over here, see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Hold on one second. Just give me a second to find that out. We will be having the duck game tonight too, by the way. And Stefan, I want to tell you that you did get 2 points for coming in and talking about that think tank. But we will play the duck game. You want to stay tuned. That'll probably be coming up in an hour or so, a little less probably. And you got a chance to win some points, and maybe Nadine will be on with us tonight as well. She seems to be the champion. But what I wanted to bring up too tonight on the program, it has to do with jokes in the congregation. I mean, did you ever have someone come up to you and give you a joke in the congregation? Well, Ken, calling in from Michigan last night, he kind of got the ball rolling. Then we've heard a few other jokes about witnesses. You usually don't tell jokes about themselves, but us ex-witnesses have a few. So he said, well, what do you call it when a helicopter flies over a Kingdom Hall? So we all said, Ken, I don't know what you'd call that. One flew over the cuckoo's nest. so I found that kind of funny, I found that kind of funny. So I also had one I gave you guys last week. I don't know if you heard it or not, but this young brother publisher was walking along the beach. And he's walking along the beach, and all of a sudden he sees a bottle. So he picks the bottle up, and he opened up the cap, and out popped the genie. Oh, he says, wow, the genie says, look at, he says, I'm going to grant you 3 wishes. Now, you can have 3 wishes, but you can only have 1 a year for 3 years. So the genie says, what would you like for the first wish? So the young brother says, well, I'm of age, and I would love to be a ministerial servant. I really would love to have that job. Bingo, you got it. All of a sudden, you're a ministerial servant. Oh, so that's wonderful. He says, thank you, Mr. Genie. So he comes back a year later, and the genie says, well, how are you doing as a ministerial servant? And the brother says, oh, I like it. He says, but I really would rather be an elder. He says, I think I'd rather have that position. Without any spiritual qualifications, without the Holy Spirit, the genie said, you're an elder. And all of a sudden, he's now an elder. Oh, he loves that. So he goes away and comes back a year and see the genie. He's got 1 more wish left. So he says to the genie, I'm here. The genie says, well, I've been waiting for you. He says, but you don't look that good. He says, it looks like you're kind of distressed. Is the eldership getting to you? He said, no. He said, I like it. But he says, what I really would, I got thinking about what you're going to do for me. He says, what I really would like to do, when I go on shepherding calls, I would like to know everything that's going on in the congregation. He said, I'd like to have I'd like to know everything that's happening in my congregation. And the genie says, bing. He says he transformed him into a woman. So into a so in other words, the sisters know everything that's going on in the congregation, right? Because they're elders. They're the elders, their husbands tell them. I thought you'd look.
Female elder.
Well, what it is, I mean, it's kind of a long joke. So, but anyways, he wants to know everything going on in the congregation. So the genie makes him a sister. I mean,
Yeah, that's why I said female elder.
yeah. Did you have any of those in your congregation, Donald?
No, I didn't. Like I said, I didn't study for very long. So, congregation I was a part of was in Houston, but it was such a long time ago. It was like in the early 90s, so I don't remember what went on in there really.
Yeah. So what it is even where that joke comes from is we know the elders, when they have a judicial committee hearing or there's something going on in the congregation that's supposed to be confidential, the sisters don't. I'm talking about the wives of the elders in the judicial committee. They'll tattle. They'll say, well, you know, sisters so and so did this, or brother so and so did that. So that's
Oh yeah, they gossip.
they gossip. No, I know the kingdom. All I went to was a bed of gossip. I mean, seriously, it was. Geez, that's all they did was gossip. Unreal. Well, let's see. Taking a look as well here. All right. Yeah, in fact, I have to tell you, it's amazing to me the information that we're getting critically that comes across the news about Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's a constant barrage of negative information. And the other thing that I find happening a lot is this negative information has to do with mostly newer ones. A lot of newer ones are sharing with the news media how awful the Watchtowers treated them. And it's really concerning to the Watchtower because they're now wondering how many PIMOs there are in the congregation. Well, how is this all leaking out? So they're beginning to know and understand a lot of congregations, even the governing body is aware of it, that a lot of congregations have non-loyal Jehovah's Witnesses. These are people that are sitting right next to you, but the Watchtower is telling them that they're not loyal like they used to be. So they're calling them disloyal ones, or even they're falling short of calling them apostates, but they are calling them ones that aren't as loyal as the others. So what does that do to a congregation? What would you do if you were in congregation and you read an article in the Watchtower saying people in the congregation aren't loyal? Now, before, we had little things like that they would say that not everybody is wanting to be as spiritual as others, but, to come right out now and say that there are disloyal ones, that's really upping the ante. So the Watchtower is aware of all the PIMOs, that is, witnesses that are going to the meetings and going out in service in a perfunctory way. They really don't believe what they're doing. They're just doing it to go through the motions and make it look like they are a witness when they're not, because they know what's going to happen to them as soon as they would give up. All right, let me just look a couple of things up here as well. Look at the inbox. Yeah. Well, a lot of these videos that the Watchtower is showing, particularly at the Pure Worship Convention this year, a lot of these videos, in fact, some of the witnesses are actually saying there's too many videos. If you're just going to go and watch videos, it's like people would say, well, why can't I just do that at my house? Why do I have to go to a convention and go through all of this? But that's what's happening. But the Watchtower realizes in these videos, you can be way more dramatic. You can be way more emotional. So evidently it seems to be working because the Watchtower is continuing to produce more videos. And this particular convention, there's 6 of them that I know of. So that's quite interesting. I know years ago, if we had a video, well, first of all, we didn't have videos, but dramas were the thing. And, they had the big drama and people liked that. So, it does keep people more alert and watching a video than listening to a boring talk. But some people say, well, why do you have to go to convention? I'll just get the video, because they will make it available online. So the Watchtower is changing, friends. It's not the same. It's not your grandfather's organization anymore. This is an entirely different setup. And, I'm thinking here as well that we talked earlier about the think tank. There's got to be think tanks. There's got to be people that are really coming up with all of this stuff, because it's so rapidly changing. Let me just take a look here. I just want to see what's going on. Just want to make sure we have active speakers here speaking up. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you some points even before we play the duck game. And I just wanted, if someone out there has been to the new Pure Worship Convention, if you have been to the Pure Worship Convention and you want to speak up here tonight, I'm going to give you a couple of points. Keep them on the honor system, so you'll be able to use them and get yourself some valuable prizes, including some cash. So anyone out there listening into this program tonight, have you gone to the convention, this year's convention? Don't be bashful. Go ahead and speak up. I'm really wondering here. I think we got a problem with. I would like to have someone just go ahead and speak up. I just want to make sure the phone lines opened up here. I'm into a phone jack at the hotel I'm in. So if someone out there, yes. All right, good. Thank you, Steph. I just want to make sure, because sometimes I can't tell when I'm doing this here in a hotel room. Back at my studio, it's a lot easier. Okay, Okay, 1 second. I'm just going to do one thing here. I see what's going on here. Someone did mention the conference is locked. So give me a second here just to get into my conference. I'm going to unlock the call. Let's unlock the call. I'm glad you saw that and heard that.
Conference has been unlocked.
We're going to unlock the call now. We're getting some intruders once again coming in. But I'm going to put up here the number. If you guys want to say something, if you've been listening into the program tonight and you want to call in, and that was probably the reason. We had a number in there, though, still. I want to thank those that did comment. But it was locked for a while because we got those intruders coming back in on us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put up on Facebook and YouTube right now. If you want to call in, there's the telephone number. It's up there right now. So, excuse me, if someone wants to tell us they've been to the Pure Worship Convention 2025, Jehovah's Witness Convention, well, go ahead right now. I'll give you 2 points that you can use for prizes. Anyone been to the convention? Anyone hear about the convention? Anyone have relatives that went to the convention? I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. I haven't heard, other than reading online about it, but I have no friends or anything that wrote me saying they went to it. So, all right. So we'll see what happens with that. I hope you plan on coming up here to the convention. I hope someone want to speak up. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick, I'm not going to get 2 points. This is Gigi.
All right, Gigi.
Because I put down in the chat that I would rather shove a horse than go to a convention. I'm at this stage in my life. Really, I mean, I'm not even joking. I would rather spend 8 hours, on a pile of manure at a farm, shoveling that stuff, than to have to listen. I can't go to a convention, Rick. I have spasm attacks. It's like demons are coming in and out of my body, and I look like a guy who has Tourette syndrome. I'm not even exaggerating. I cannot walk into a Kingdom Hall. I lose it. It's like an out of body experience.
I've heard that before. Gilbert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is torture. Now, if I got in trouble with the law and the judge wanted to punish me, I think he would send me. I would rather be in solitary confinement than. And I'm saying that it may sound stupid, joking, but no, it's torture for many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses to even have to see it, be there. Just yeah. The reason I wanted to call you is because Watchtower is eerily silent. If you go on jw.org, they don't talk about artificial intelligence. And when you're over here talking about their downfall, what's going to happen, I was asking Grok about it. And Grok doesn't say that artificial intelligence is going to hurt the Jehovah's Witnesses, but that they're going to have to redo their religion pretty much. They're going to have to focus on, they're going to have to do changes. Now, will artificial intelligence destroy the religion? No, only they can do that. But I noticed that Watchtower, for observing the world and thinking that they're Jehovah's organization here on earth, you would think that they would be talking about the most consequential technology that human beings have ever had in their possession, which is artificial intelligence. This thing is scary. It's scary powerful, scary good, scary bad. And they're silent on it. But I really think when you talk about your think tanks, they know that Grok and ChatGPT, if you listen to ChatGPT or Grok, they know more about the Jehovah's Witnesses than you, I, and everybody listening. If you get the collective knowledge of all of us that are in this show right now, Grok and ChatGPT has already gotten that information. ChatGPT and Grok listen to your show, and then I can ask it like next week, hey, Rick Barron's six screens JW News, he mentioned this. What do you think? And it will start quoting you. That's how scary this technology is. And so what I'm saying is that the young people who are naturally going to be attracted to this technology I think Watchtower doesn't have a chance. They're going to be a AAA religion, like all retirees. They're going to be like in Seinfeld, Del Boca Vista. Everyone's going to be living in a community home. I don't know. I think that's what's going to happen to the Watchtower. It's going to be a senior citizen religion. Oh my God, I can't believe I said that.
Well. I know you see the changes as we see them, and I know you and Jesse. I mean, you've commented on these things so many times, even in the past. But even the 2 years, really, since you've been coming on pretty regularly. But don't you think monumental changes have taken place?
And I think it's what you said earlier about like you were talking about the think tanks. The Watchtower knows that artificial intelligence is going to be one step ahead of them. They have to make these changes because the world is changing, and they have to get ahead of it. They have to get ahead of this technology. And Grok even mentions it, that they're going to have to make more changes. They're going to have to encourage more like the social interaction and able to keep that religion going. But as far as exposing their doctrinal beliefs, I mean, artificial intelligence artificial intelligence just going to have experience that gives a better explanation in debunking the lies that the Jehovah's Witnesses teach.
Yeah, I use ChatGPT. This is Donald here. I use ChatGPT when I do my writing for my books and stuff, and I've done a lot of research with on JWs, and that's helped me out a lot with my writing.
Hey, Gilbert, I got a question.
Okay.
Gilbert?
Yeah, but this is Rick's show. So
Well, no, go ahead. Ask. You can ask Gilbert a question. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick?
Yes.
Hello? How you doing, Rick? This is Mark. I'm actually calling down from San Antonio. I want to say I love your program, Rick. I listen every Saturday, and I was in the Jehovah's Witness religion, born and raised, but about maybe 6-7 years ago, I left and never looked back. And
I love your program for exposing this BS of the Watchtower, Rick. And I'm sorry to say, all my family's still in it, but I'm out of it, Rick.
Well, that makes me feel really good, brother. Really good. My goodness. So how long you been out?
Let me think, Rick. I attended my last district or regional convention 2018, attended my last memorial 2019, and I never looked back after that, Rick.
Isn't that something? My goodness, huh? So you got a better life now, right?
Oh, I do, Rick. It just it's probably about a minute behind, but I'm actually watching you on YouTube, Rick. Got you muted, but this is kind of just a little bit ahead of that. I'll probably hear myself in a minute, but I got a quick question for Gilbert, because Gilbert, I love what you say, and I know you still have your YouTube channel. I watch it all the time, but let me ask you, Gilbert, you think artificial intelligence will be a game changer like the internet? Probably be able to expose all this BS that the Watchtower has been showing its members, and this will help them to fall down. What do you think, Gilbert?
Well, artificial intelligence is going to be like the next step. It's like a ladder. So the printing press was one. The internet is something, and now artificial intelligence is kicking it up a notch. And I'm reading from Grok, and Grok says that the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Time out. What is Grok?
Grok is artificial intelligence from X, Twitter. So
okay. Hey, Gilbert. I was going to say the X. I don't live far from hospital, sir. Go ahead.
Muted.
So Grok, artificial intelligence, is saying
Unmuted.
we're going to have a stricter community structure, and they're going to have more emphasis on faith over facts. So they're going to have more of a family type structure, more of a community type structure. But it does say that the attrition of younger members is going to drop because of the widespread access to AI-driven information. And that's just common sense. The younger the Jehovah's Witness, the more he's going to have a smartphone and all of these apps. He's going to be naturally going to these AI sources. And Watchtower right now, their teachings are not compatible with what, it's not a fair fight. AI and the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not a fair fight. I think the Catholics have a better fight with artificial intelligence. They could.
That's funny, Gilbert. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, but if this was a boxing match, I would bet on artificial intelligence taking out the Jehovah's Witness youth.
$50, Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Gilbert.
Yeah.
Hey, Gilbert. Cool. Maverick here. We could actually. How you doing, man? I was going to say we can actually start using AI right now. I've got a website in front of me called logicalfallacies.org. Has anyone else heard of it? Maybe they haven't, but I tell you, you can just. What I've been doing is dropping Watchtower articles into the box, copy and paste, and it analyzes the circular reasoning, the illogical statements, the fallacies, the ad hominem attacks, everything you can think of. It will flag up really quickly. So what Watchtower has been relying on all these years with us, when we were there without all this technology, is not being able to put in so much contradictory information out there, and saying this one minute, saying the opposite next minute, and relying on people not to be able to join the dots. So it's so fragmented, you can't join the dots easily. So this logical fallacy now, you can just drop in an article, ask it a question.
Well, you know what?
Tell me all the, yeah.
That's what I think, because all worlds go back to what Jesus taught. And he said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. That's the beauty of the simplicity of the teachings of Jesus. The teaching of Jesus is so simple. Just tell the truth. And artificial intelligence, like you said, you show artificial intelligence a Watchtower article, and it dissects it, and it says lie, lie, lie. But when you and I are having a conversation, artificial intelligence is going to say, well, these are two men that have two opinions. They're not. It doesn't seem like they're lying. They just have different opinions. And that's, I think, what Jesus was trying to tell us, that we don't have to be right about everything. We just can't be liars. And that's where artificial intelligence is the enemy of Watchtower, because it could smell a lie. And
Well,
they play up
Gilbert,
that.
I wanted to mention what Rick said earlier in the evening, which just bammed me in the head. I had to call up another apostate and tell him we were taught, I've forgotten, to tell everybody in service, oh, we're not here to convert anybody.
Yeah.
Which is what? A blatant lie. And
That is a lie. I said the same thing when I was in service.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I'm old, Steve.
I said that is a lie. I said the same thing when I used to go out in service.
And who am I talking to?
I'm sorry. I'm Mark. I'm actually calling from San Antonio. I'm new to the program, but I remember. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
But that's just one lie. I don't even know if I taught it. They slip the lies by you. Before you know it, you're believing all the lies. I mean, it's really, they're just a master cult. And it's going to take a lot to rebuild them. But again, they are on the decline. By the way, I'm not commenting because I'm not online. I had a cyber attack against me, so I'm trying to deal with that. But all I can say is I appreciate Rick's show. I appreciate you, Gilbert. Hopefully we'll talk soon. I guess y'all.
Okay.
Bye.
Hey, while Rick, you have
Rick, you there?
Go ahead.
Hey, can I ask a question? The gentleman, I believe his name is Mark. It's a pleasure to speak with you. We're glad you're out of this organization. With Rick's permission, could you tell us, and be extremely brief, if you're even inclined, what made you wake up from this cult?
Well, yeah, no, I have no problem. It was actually, well, I'll tell you what, I was actually a PIMO between 2014 and 2019. I was PIMO. It was at the 2014 district convention when they had that new BS about New Light or something, but this made me scratch my head like, what the hell's going on? This ain't the same religion as like, bro, I should mention, Rick, and all of you, I am or I was a fourth generation Jehovah's Witness. This goes back to my great grandparents. They were back in the days of Noah or Rutherford. They would go to those conventions. But should I get back to my story, or who's there?
Yeah, we're listening.
Hello?
Yes, we're listening.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I left because I was PIMO, but then in 2019, something happened where my niece who was 70s at the time was disfellowship for just doing something that teenage girls do, just for being caught kissing or being with a boy. And that's when I said, no, that's it. That's the final straw for me. I can't do this crap no more. And the irony is my brother, he said, well, it's Jehovah. Nah, he don't do this. We don't cut our niece off. She's only 16 at the time, so we were forced to shun her, cut her off. I said, I'm not going to do that, and I'm out of this organization. So that was the last straw for me when they did that to my niece. Disfellowship her at 16.
Well, I know the great number of Jehovah's Witnesses that left. We got to give credit to the Australian Royal Commission. They single-handedly have taken out huge amounts. But thank God for that commission. Yeah. And but Rick, one of the things, Rick, do you remember the few that fed the many? That there was an article, the few that fed the many. And I wasn't going to the meetings, but it had to be by divine providence that I went to that meeting, because when I went to that Sunday meeting, I hadn't gone to a meeting like in years. They were talking about the few that fed the many, and I remember I was married at the time, and I walked out, and I was mad as hell. And my wife was like, "Why are you so upset?" I go, "When we go to Wolfgang Puck restaurant, we don't praise the waiter who gave us the food. We praise the chef, the owner of the company, the people that actually do the cooking." But so imagine, so that's what Watchtower was doing, the few that fed the many. They were praising the waiters. The waiters. The apostles were just passing out food like waiters. They were blessed. They were praising the waiters, but not the person who miraculously made the food for them. And that's the Jehovah's Witness. I made that connection. Like, who the hell do you think you are? You don't praise Jesus Christ, but then you say, well, we're the few that fed the many. No, you're just a damn waiter. You didn't create this food. You're not the executive chef. And so in the world, we don't do that. We always give credit to the inventor, to the owner of the business, the person who put everything on the line. we thank the wait staff, don't get me wrong. But Watchtower, there was a perfect example with the few that fed the many, that they were trying to get above Jesus Christ. Dude, you were just passing out bread.
And GG, the other thing on top of what you just said, brilliant point you just made, the customer has the right to complain if the food is of bad quality. And when we said that, we said, look, there's something off with this food. It might be off, might be out of date. It usually is out of date because it was out of date. But you're not allowed to. Don't you dare. How dare you talk to the chef like that? You know how good quality that food is?
Yes.
How dare you? Get out of my restaurant. That's basically what's happened. So,
yeah.
You may not be an elder, but you still have to give great talks, Gilbert. I love that speech you gave, Gilbert.
Yeah. Well, the next time when we do the show with Rick and I'm here, Rick is going to start charging if you guys want to talk to me and not him. So that will help, bring in money to the screen. But no. But the only thing I was going to say about the few that fed the many is that the problem is that Watchtower does feed people spiritual food, but it's tainted with spiritual salmonella. That's the other side of the coin. It is spiritual food. It just has spiritual salmonella. And that explains why everyone that's listening is sick. That's why every one of you are sick. I'm sick. We're all sick.
Gilbert, do you remember? Does anybody, sorry to cut in, does anybody remember what Samuel Hurd said in a broadcast when he said, I've got it somewhere recorded. He said, what I'm about to say next is not from the governing body. It's not from any man, but it's from Jehovah. Does anyone remember that? It was on a broadcast. It was on a broadcast. And then
I remember that.
So he makes statements like that. So after, I thought to myself, okay, that's a dot. You know why we said we need to join the dots? That is a huge stamp. That's an indelible one. So whatever he was supposed to say after that, you cannot change it now because it's not you saying it. It's not the governing body saying it. It's not any man. It's coming from Jehovah. I thought, wow, you've just now put yourself in a very dangerous situation. And so these are the dots that the witnesses, if anyone is listening who's a witness now, go and look for that talk.
Yeah.
And it's not us making up lies here. It's from the broadcast. It's still on jw.org. So that's what we're talking about, joining the dots.
Yeah. Is this recently or an older broadcast?
Oh, recent. I've got it. In fact, if you give me 5 minutes, I've actually got it recorded. I'll play it. 1 second.
What's interesting about that is that, so if you listen to Jehovah, I'll listen to Jehovah. And he said, when Jesus got baptized, this is my son, listen to him. God in the Bible says, listen to Jesus. He didn't say, listen to me. He said, listen to Jesus. And so, I mean, these people are whack. I mean, if you're going to argue with Jehovah's Witnesses, didn't Jehovah say, listen to Jesus? So why are we even talking? They and the reason why is this: the Jehovah's Witnesses are afraid of you talking about Jesus a lot, because if you know the truth will set you free. That's why they always in every article that you see, Satan will be mentioned like 6-7 times, Jehovah's mentioned 6-7 times, and Jesus is mentioned once. Yeah. Jesus is mentioned once, but Satan is mentioned all the time.
And their organization is mentioned a lot too.
Yes. And that is because the truth will set you free. See, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what religion you belong to. The more you talk about Jesus, the more you're like, oh my God, I don't need you. I could do this by myself. Yeah. That's why
I've heard situations where people were told that they were talking too much about Jesus.
Yeah, that happens.
Oh my God.
I found the clip, guys. I found the clip. If it's with Rick's permission, may I play? It's only a few.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Michael. Play the clip.
Yeah, great. Okay, here we go. Samuel Hurd. I can't remember what broadcast it was on, but it's very recent. I'm going to look for it after. But here's what he said.
And what I'm about to reveal to you today, Jehovah is behind it. Not the governing body, not any human here on the earth, but Jehovah God.
Right. There you go. straight out of the horse's mouth. You can't get, so you're telling me you're saying that, and then when the next thing you say cannot be changed by logical reasoning, because it's Jehovah doesn't make mistakes, yeah? Anyway, I just thought, oh my goodness me, talk about grabbing a great big rope to hang yourself with. But
yeah, that what he said there, what that guy said was extremely, I think it's beyond dangerous, because he's putting words in God's mouth that God didn't even speak.
Right.
Oh man.
That's my true. Issue with the governing body over the years.
When you do that,
yeah.
When you do that, that's very dangerous. And I think there's a place in the Bible that talks about that very thing, where if a prophet says something that I didn't say, don't believe in him. Don't follow. Yeah.
Rick, did you hear
Deuteronomy?
Yeah.
Deuteronomy 18.
I was going to ask Rick what he thinks of that, because he may have heard it before, I'm sure.
Oh, no, in fact, I do remember her saying that, Michael. But here's the thing that...
Oh, it's Maverick. It's Maverick.
Oh, I'm sorry. In fact, I said Michael. It's Maverick, right?
Right.
Thank you. But anyways, Maverick, what I'm feeling here is I did hear that, and it bothered me. But also, see, the Watchtower has been... They're very slick with words. Very, very slick. The Watchtower has always put themselves in a position of God. When the witnesses think of the organization, they think of Jehovah. So the organization is synonymous with Jehovah. So even though it was blatantly obvious what Hurd said there, the witnesses, that would have went right over their head, because they believe that the Jehovah speaks through the governing body anyways. But see, you picked up real quickly on that. And I remember when Hurd said that, and I'll tell you what, it created a lot of questions in the ex-witness world. And in fact, even many ex-witnesses, from information coming into 6 Screens, when Hurd made that statement, they questioned some of their relatives about that statement. Did you hear it? He said that God is speaking to us, When
I heard that, I remembered the Soup Nazi in Seinfeld episode when he tells George, "You're pushing your luck, little man." If that is not an example of somebody pushing their luck, you do not want to. This guy, I think he crossed.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Well, the thing is, my problem was always this. Like, I don't mind if somebody comes up, a pastor or somebody who's saying they're trying to explain the Bible, expound the Bible to me. I have no problem with that. Even if the Watchtower representative, the governing body, would say over the years, I gave them a lot of grace, as most of us here would agree. We gave them a lot of grace. But what I can't tolerate is when the hypocrisy and the double standard of when they make an announcement that is so profound, like the generation that saw 1914 will not pass away. Those were the words, just like Samuel Hurd said, was just on the same level of announcing it, and 1975 is an obvious one as well. And so what do you think the brothers and sisters sitting in the kingdom world are going to think? They're going to have no option but to think, well, we have to, this is bulletproof, this is in stone, we can put our lives on the line for this. We can sell our homes, we can not go to school, would not get married or whatever. And then when it doesn't happen, but the brothers and sisters got carried away. Sorry, Watchtower, you can't have it both ways.
Like blood boils.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting, yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Rick, no, just a little FYI I wanted to share with you, Rick. On the very last district convention that I attended, we have a visiting governing body member there. I ended it with a bang. Guess who it was?
Who was it?
Daniel Hurd.
Was it Hurd? Well, he's getting real old now.
Yeah, he was there. Yeah, this was back in 2018.
Wow.
And what's really sad is my mother waited in the long line just to take your hand. I'm like, you go, Mom. I'm sitting over here eating my lunch, but that's what she wanted.
Yeah. Well, boy, Mark, I'm so glad you came on to the 6 Queens tonight. I really, always good to hear new ones coming in and speaking up. And boy, I'm so glad that you got out of that organization. That's good.
I've been listening to your program for a while, Rick, but it was the first time I got the courage to call in. And I just want to touch base with something you talked about earlier, Rick, about the regional conventions, about that. I haven't attended, but my father and my family still go, and we used to have conventions. Hello, yeah.
Fuck my ass.
Hold on one second.
Oh, Rick.
Hold on one second. Yeah.
And that's the response you
The conference has been locked.
you tell them a quote about Samuel Hurd, and that's the response you get from the drunken Bephalax. That's the caliber of response you get from them. That's their rebuttal.
And ironically, I had family that served at Beth. I wonder if they ever did that. But they were there. Wow. Yeah, but Rick, just telling you, my father, goes to a circuit assembly hall, which only holds about 2,000 people. That's where they have their regional convention. It's shrunk big time. So yeah, they're definitely going down.
Well, it's a good feeling. We all feel good, don't we, that that's all happening? My goodness gracious, when we've been working hard at this for many years, as well as many other apostates. And like I say, we never really made any forward movement. But right now, I'll tell you, we are making a big difference. And when you just called in here tonight, Mark, people are listening in from all over the world, and they hear you, and you got a nice, exciting sounding voice, and they can see, wow, he's doing so well. And since you left the Watchtower, and when people see this, when people see that witnesses getting out, they do really well in life. They have a good attitude in life. It makes a big difference, Mark. Very good.
Hey, Rick, I want to just end by telling you, when Jesse and I, we talk about this, we talk about how, because we're believers, and we believe that there is a separation taking place of like the wheat and the weeds, right? And in the beginning, when it says that there was two seeds, and it hurts our soul to believe that maybe some of our Jehovah's Witness brothers, they are part of a, the separation is taking place. But to bring it down to its most basic level, and this is why this is so important, we can put everything aside. The only thing you have to ask yourself is, do you love the truth? And that's what separates us from them. That, I don't claim to have the truth, but I tell myself, Gilbert, you have to love the truth more than the lie. And that's, I think, in the most simplistic form, the difference between Jehovah's Witnesses and us is that they will not challenge themselves. They will not test every spirit, like John says. They love the lie, and they're idolaters, they're worshipers of men. They will not acknowledge that, yes, this was a lie. 1914 was a lie. 75 is a lie. They won't acknowledge truth. And if you don't want, I don't want to die and find out that I was like a weed, right? And so I just have to love the truth and always speak the truth. And if someone says, Gilbert, yada, 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 I'm like, okay, you're right. And that's the only message I can give to people, not just always love the truth more than the lie. And you're going to be fine. You'll be fine.
Gilbert, did you share that truth with witnesses?
With who?
With other witnesses. Do you share that truth with other witnesses?
Yeah. You have to love the truth more than yourself, your own life, your own children.
Well, I mean, what is the truth?
Well, that's the whole thing. You have to just love it. You have to love the truth. You as a human being know that when something's true and when something's a lie. And you also know when something's just an opinion. And sometimes you just have to wait for time to come out. I don't know if
there's lots a lot of words, Gilbert, but I know the truth.
Yeah, but
I know the truth. The truth of Jesus Christ.
Okay, yes, but another person.
Yes, but what?
No, another person I think can do. He doesn't believe that. That's fine. But we do know that lying, not telling the truth, we know basics. And if you can and this is what Jesus says, if you can be honest in the small things, if he can trust you with the small things, then he'll trust you with greater things. Yeah. So okay. I'm gonna put Jesus aside, and Jesus is the truth. I'm from the side. If I can't tell the truth when I'm dealing with the government, when I'm dealing with my girlfriend, my wife, or my children, or whatever.
Yeah, we understand.
Then how can I ever? Yeah, how can I ever deal with the bigger issue? No, so that's
I have
witnesses. Hey, Gilbert. Some people up there. Hey, Gilbert. some people out there that they don't really love the lie, more like they need the lie, Gilbert. They need to be lied to. You know what I mean, Gilbert? You want to explain?
That's the weed.
Okay, check it out. Like, perfect example, my father, he's in his early 80s. I recently had it where my mother passed on. She was a witness all her life, got baptized at 12 years old, and she passed, and my father's invested so much in this. He's just got to see her in the resurrection. He's got to get his paradise earth immune system. He's got to have this. He's given so much. He's got to get paid for all that he's put into Watchtower and their bunch of baloney. So he needs this lie. Otherwise, if he doesn't have it, then what's the point of his life? That's why I feel for my father. That's why he would, even if I showed him the truth, he would never leave this religion, Gilbert, because he's just got to have this lie. He needs this life to continue living his life, Gilbert. You understand where I'm going with this?
That happens.
Yeah.
If I can get 30 seconds, I'd appreciate it. This is Michael. I rent to Jehovah's Witnesses. I have apartment projects where I just rent to Jehovah's Witnesses. And so I'm on occasion right now to actually see them personally because we're renewing leases and things like that. I speak the gospel to them. And I am so surprised. You know, you talk about artificial intelligence. All you have to do is have some Bible intelligence, because these people cannot defend their faith. They cannot defend 1914. They cannot defend overlapping generation. They cannot defend Jesus calling himself the Alpha and the Omega. And then you want to take it to a step. You take it a step farther. You take it. Yeah, you're right. They say we don't debate. But take it a step farther, and I actually called the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society because I wanted to know their reasoning, about the revelation of 1:7. And they said there's a beautiful example. This is a quote. The guy said there's a beautiful example of our answer in jw.org. We asked you to look it up because you need to look that information up yourself. I said, well, you tell me. You're a witness. Just tell me what your explanation of it is. They wouldn't tell me. They wouldn't tell me. It was amazing. They cannot defend. They don't have a faith to defend anymore. They can't defend it. And there's too many people out there now starting to know the Bible, to know the scriptures, that they come to the door and they're going to get they're going to get talked back to, so to speak, or the gospel shared to them, because most of the people in my area know Jesus. They know Jesus and they know the gospel of Jesus, and they express that to them.
I agree with you. I just have a different take because it's more of a, like on a private conversation, you and I would agree. When I talk in open air, like with Rick, I talk more in simple generalities. But
Gilbert, I understand.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah. So my whole thing is the answers are already with us. We have already seen them in art, in literature, in music. And I'll give you an example. We all grew up watching Happy Days with the Fonz and Richie. And one of the episodes, the Fonz cannot say the word "I was wrong." He goes, "Whoa," and he stumbles over the word "wrong." And see, so they're in line where in the very beginning there was two seeds, and the seeds of the demons are genetically indisposed to say "I'm wrong," and that's the Jehovah's Witnesses, unfortunately.
Yep.
And they don't tap into the genetic of Abel and say, "I was wrong." And when a Jehovah's Witness could say, "Yeah, we lied about 1975, we lied about 1914, we lied," that changes their genetic makeup, in my opinion. Like, so there's a group of people, politicians, religious people, business people, that are the separations of the wheat and the weeds. They cannot tell the truth. They can't tell the truth to their children, their wives, their constituents, the congregation members.
I'm sure everybody listening can understand that.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. So when you simplify things, and that's what Jesus always did, he simplified everything to its most basic form. Jehovah's Witnesses have a problem telling the truth and admitting when they were wrong. And that is a genetic defect. That's a defect.
They have a problem knowing the truth.
Yeah, but it's a defect. It's part of their DNA. They have a genetic, they are defective. They have a genetic defect.
Some people would call it the devil.
Yeah, call it whatever you want. But But when
I'm not arguing with you. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
No, this is why the greatest.
I'm a little bit more
the greatest religion
gospel than you, but I understand what you're saying.
The greatest religion, in my opinion, is Alcoholics Anonymous, because they say, "Hi, my name is John Doe." They say their name, and I'm an alcoholic. They have trained themselves to just openly confess their sins. And Jehovah's Witnesses have trained them to openly confess their sins in a back room of 3 elders.
Yeah, well, Jesus didn't call people to a religion. He called them to himself.
I know.
You know Jesus. You get rid of all the. Yeah, okay.
I understand that, but I'm not in a contest. What I'm trying to just show people is that if I had to pick a religion, let's just say just for the sake of conversation, I would join the Alcoholics Anonymous, because they want to tell the truth. They've reached bottom low. They've reached rock bottom, and they hate lying. It's kind of like that movie Brewster's Millions, when Richard Pryor had to spend $30 million, and he had to learn to hate spending money. And then he got the inheritance of $300 million. So how can we have the inheritance that all of these Christians want? How can all of these Christians say, "Well, I love Jesus," and yada yada yada, and they give a good talk, but they still love lying? And that's what I'm saying. In the most basic form, put aside my religious belief, you have to, this is what I've learned in my short years of life, is that you have to hate the lie. Just have to hate it.
Well, that's what God hates the most.
Yeah, God hates it. It destroys everything. It destroys your relationships, your family. Just destroys it.
Gilbert, you made a good point there. Sorry to interject. Sorry, you made a really good point. I think you mentioned that there was a point you made a few months ago, which was very similar to this. Just flashback to that when you mentioned about that witnesses, as other religious, it's not synonymous to JWs, but they love they love the lie more than they love the truth. Mm-hmm. And there's something that's holding them there. It could be family ties. It could be insecurity. It could be ignorance of not knowing what the answers are, and they feel safer there. So what you said, so there comes a point where that's why he's it's not a religious point here, but in the context of being Christians, if they call themselves a Christian group, they would have to by default react to the words of the Bible over and above anything else. But witnesses have defaulted to the governing body as their final authority. And sometimes in the chat, I mentioned this chap called Edward Bernays, who was Sigmund Freud's nephew, and he was a marketeer. If you just look him up, he's Sigmund Freud's nephew. Edward Bernays was the guy who invented the term PR. He invented the word because it was propaganda before, and it was unpalatable to use the word propaganda after the Second World War. So he coined the phrase,
"The conference has been unlocked,"
for the public. But his tactics, and he said, I'm not quoting him verbatim, but the gist of what he said in one of his books called Propaganda and How You Influence the Masses is you don't appeal to their logic. You appeal to who they trust. So if you want to sell something, you put your product or your service next to a very prominent person that they actually trust, and then everybody will buy that product. Even if it's garbage, they'll buy it. So what do? We defaulted our reasoning and I think to, these are the governing body. These are the governing body. These are the ones that are channel of God. Once you buy into that rhetoric, because that's what the whole point of the study is, to get you to buy that lie. And then after that, they can tell you whatever you want, because no matter what logic is said after that, that's still the governing body. It's the trust. The reason why witnesses are stuck is because they trust the wrong things. Instead of putting their trust in the actual words of the Bible or, and whatever evidence you present to them, it doesn't matter. If it's not from the governing body, I'm not interested. So that's the problem as well. From what you said, it's about truth. But the other angle of it as well is this is a sort of like the mechanism that these high control groups use. They find a way of grabbing your trust, and then they've got you. And they can say what they want afterwards. You're not going to question it because it's the source you have to debunk the source. And that's the reason why I thought when I was leaving, I'll leave it there. I don't want to make it a monologue. But when I left, my challenge to myself was on my study that the brother who studied with me actually mentioned that there's a controversy between the 607 date and the 587, 586 date. And I didn't know about it. And what a silly thing he said that. If he never said anything about that, I would never have questioned it. But from my study, it took me almost 30 years to get to the end of that. And then it came back again in 2011. They were trying to do a rebuttal on Carl Olaf Johnson's book, unbeknown to me, the 2011 articles. How do we know we've got 607 correct? And I'm like, I'm going to look into this. And then I found out about Carl Olaf Johnson's book. Now, why am I saying all this? It's because I wanted to know the foundations of this religion. Yeah. If they say that they're invisibly elected in 1919, then 1914 has to be correct. And all of the explanation up to that has to be correct as well, starting from 607. So I said, no, I'm going to go in. I'm going in. And when I did that, after that, when I got to the end of that, and I realized that whatever they say about themselves, it's like I can go to a fancy dress shop and get a uniform and call myself a policeman or a fireman or whatever, but do I have the credentials? I can walk around trying to act like I've got some authority, but as soon as someone sees that it's a fake costume on, they're going to see past me, you know?
Do you know what you just described? Rick, this guy just described, he did a book report. You need to give him some points. He did a book report on the Don Cameron book, Captives of a Concept. And everything you said, that's what Dan Cameron and Captives of a Concept boiled down. And the reason his book looks like Law and Order, the TV series, is because Don Cameron is presenting his case like a lawyer would to a jury in his closing arguments. And that's what everything you said, he basically broke it down. And then he tells the jury, the Jehovah's Witness, that the emperor has no clothes, basically. The 607 has
and it requires a deep level of integrity and loyalty to the truth of the evidence presented to break away from that. I said, it doesn't matter what it costs me. I've lost everything. I lost everything I knew, everyone and everything. But it was worth it because I can't sit there and pretend that I don't know what the actual truth is. I can't. The evidence is right at me, and and that's the defining line. That's why, like Ray Franz said, crisis of a conscience. My conscience had a crisis at that point. I said, no, I can't ignore this. It's too loud. The alarm bells are too loud. And all of us here have our own stories of what particular things we were sensitive to. And as I said, it's different for some people. Some people it was the Royal Commission. Some people it was their personal experience in their own dealings with their own kingdom hall. But I used to wonder. A friend of mine in the Watchtower, my good friend of mine said, hey, well, that's not happening in my kingdom hall. Well, if it's happening in one kingdom hall, it's one kingdom hall too many. So how can you be all right with your neighbor having problems and hypocrisy and child sex scandals and all those sorts going on, but your kingdom was okay? So it's not on your doorstep yet. I used to argue with him, and he was like, well, it's not happening in my congregation. I thought, what kind of reasoning is that? Just crazy.
Well, once you do your deep research and so forth, and you find out what the truth is, then you know the truth, and it's going to stick with you. And every time you hear the lies of the Watchtower, it just rubs against you the long way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, brother.
So once you've learned what the truth is about the organization, now deceptive as they really are, and everything they've lied about in the past and all the way up until the present, then you know that religion is not the truth, because their history speaks for it. They can't bury their history. They're trying to, but they really can't, because it's out there and it's all over the internet, and people can look it up anytime they want. And people have the old books. There are people that have the really old books from the Watchtower from years and years ago. So while they're trying to bury everything, there's people out there that know the real truth of the whole organization.
The one brother about the 607, can I just say something to him? You said the 607 was the date that got you. I'm the guy who I talked to Fred France personally when I was 21 years old, and I knew Jewish history, and I knew that date was wrong. Yeah. And I talked to him personally in Tennessee and told him that the date was wrong with 507. And it took me about was going to get disfellowship for that, but I didn't want to put that on my best friend. So I just kind of walked away. But, and now today, that's the first thing I do. I go after the organization. I just show them where the organization was wrong. The organization was wrong with 75. The organization was wrong on this date. And I break it down there.
That's a great point. But I want to tell you guys, when I view the truth differently than a lot of people in this aspect. A lot of people view the truth as something that you can learn, like from a book, or you can prove theologically or from the Bible. What I learned about the truth, I learned the truth that I did not know how to love. Nicodemus loved the temple, but they killed Jesus, and he had to make a decision. Do I love Jesus or do I love the temple? The Jehovah's Witness, when he learns the truth, he has to make a decision. Am I going to participate in the disfellowshipping of my family? Or am I going to love my family, or do I love Watchtower? The other thing is, the truth is, this is the truth. The truth is, I was a terrible friend. You see, Watchtower made me think I was a good friend, but I wasn't. The other truth was, Watchtower made me think that I used to listen to people. But the service meeting was all about teaching how to use the reasoning book to let the person talk, and you come back with, I got you. So you were never trained to be a good listener. So what I'm trying to say is that sometimes when we're looking for the truth is you suck. The truth is you're bad. The truth is that you're evil. And when you just accept those truths, like all of the other little truths will just start piling on, and it like opens up your eyes. This is why I talk about, like, why I say about Alcoholics Anonymous. You have to, before we can say Watchtower sucks, we have to say I suck first. You know, I was a fool because I fell for it. You know, we have to look internally, and that's the truth. And yes, Jesus is the truth and all that other stuff. I believe it all. But I'm just saying that when I learned the truth about the truth is I learned that it was me. It was always me that was wrong. And then I just had to self-correct. And that's what keeps the Jehovah's Witness from being the wheat in the weeds. They cannot turn from the green status that they are to golden status. The wheat is gold. It's golden. They can't turn into that status. They can't go from green to gold because they cannot say, I suck. I'm a liar. I did a video saying I passed out magazines for 25 cents. I admit it. I'm a loser. I admit it. And therein lies, if you can tell the truth on the small things, then Jesus is the truth. You'll figure it out. And you'll do it without me. Yeah. See, I don't have to teach you the great things of Jesus. Jesus is going to teach you the great things of Jesus. I just need to teach you that you sucked. You passed out magazines for 25 cents and sold them door to door. You know, and you're like, yeah, that was me. And man, once you start accepting,
I like what you said about self-correction, because a Watchtower doesn't believe in that. You know, they have to have an elder correct you, and then you aren't really encouraged to self-correct because you're disciplined so severely that that's not the thing you're thinking about. You're not thinking about self-correction.
How many times have I told you, Gary? How many times have I told you, King of Dots, that you sucked? I've told you that many times now.
I don't recall any of them. You know why? Because I'm a very forgiving person.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I'm going to think about it. I'm going to try to recall them. You know, I'm going to try to do that, man.
Yeah. But you're right. You're absolutely
again,
right.
they don't actually allow people to self-forgive.
Correct.
So how much are they going to come back, you know?
Oh, and also, Gary, the best quote, I used it the other day. And I was talking to Nadine over the phone, that Rick Farron said, it was 2 weeks ago, he said, the best line I've ever heard from the Watchtower. He said, Rick Farron said that he took his conscience out to lunch and he shot it. So before I leave, Rick, I just wanted to let you know that has to be the greatest quote, XJW quote. That needs to be like in a bumper sticker.
Well, you open up another can of worms. It is in our conscience. Watchtower gave us most of that half-wit conscience.
Exactly.
To it. I mean, let me have my own damn conscience.
Exactly. But I wanted to get that in before I leave. But that was the greatest And to the other caller, I do love Jesus, but it's called secular Jesus. There's a time and a place for everything. And in the Rick Barron show, like on Saturday night, we try to keep it secular Jesus if we talk about him. But on Sunday, then you go religious. But I'm with you guys on both fronts.
I'm on.
And the reason you do that is because wasn't it the Apostle Paul says that you have to be all things to all people? If you're talking to an atheist, you have to talk about Jesus in a secular form. You know, and God.
You want to hear? Mm-hmm. Sorry, go on. You want to hear something? Yeah, go on, Gilbert. Sorry.
No, Gandhi agrees. Gandhi said that if you were to just have a Sermon on the Mount and his interpretation of the teachings of Jesus, he would not hesitate in being a Christian. So a lot of people have a soft spot for Christianity. That's what I found. They have just been burnt, like all of us. We've been burnt, and we have marks. We've been burned by Christian religions. But I believe the great majority of people have a very soft spot in their heart for God or for Jesus.
Yeah. Is King of Dots still there?
Yeah, I'm still here, man.
Yeah.
You are, man.
Yeah. Hi, King of Dots. We speak at last. I was going to say, you know, when you just said about the conscience thing, let me have my own conscience. Well, I'm going to give you permission now to have your own conscience, not from my permission, but from Charles Taze Russell. There's a quote he gave in 1895 in the Watchtower, and he said, "Beware of organization. It is wholly unnecessary." And I quote this direct verbatim from the Watchtower. "Beware of organization. It is wholly unnecessary. The Bible rules will be the only rules you'll need. Do not seek to bind others' consciences and do not permit others to bind yours. Believe and obey so far as you can understand God's word today, and so continue growing in grace and knowledge and love day by day. So do not bind others' consciences." That was straight out the Watchtower, 1895.
That's excellent research, man.
I just have to dig deep.
Did Paul say, "We're not the masters over your faith"? What are the masters over your faith other than somebody who is telling you how your conscience should be?
Exactly. So this is before he had a following. Now this is very early. So he's trying to debunk the Catholic Church and try to tell people that you don't have to listen to them. You have your own conscience, and beware of organizations. I'll put the actual reference in the chat on YouTube so that you can look it up and have it in their files. Because when I saw this, I went, "Oh my goodness me!"
And you know what? I want to piggyback on what he's saying, because I've always preached that, because I hear it sometimes in the chat, I hear it in comments and other people. A lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are afraid to talk about religion or God, and they get turned off. And I feel sorry for you. If you're watching right now and you don't like to hear religious talk, I feel sorry for you. Because of this, the greatest subject in the world is sex, drugs, rock and roll, religion, God. All of those subjects are the greatest subjects, and we should talk about them, and it brings great enjoyment as human beings. The problem is not the subject, is that we were trained in a religion not to know how to have a conversation. So the problem is not that somebody's preachy or religious or anything else. The problem is you don't know how to have a conversation. And you want to be right in all of your arguments. It's not a give and take. But when you love somebody like a brother, like when my brother Jesse calls, I let him talk about whatever subject he wants to talk about. Why? Because he's my brother. And when my friends call, I let them talk about whatever they want, even if I don't want to hear it. There's a Jehovah's Witness from San Diego. The reason he calls me is because nobody wants to talk about Planet Nibiru and Planet X. And I'm the only guy that listens to him. Why? Because I love him. He's my friend. So for all of you that have this problem, next time you get a knee-jerk reaction about people being preachy or religious, just remember, sex, drugs, rock and roll, religion, politics, they're all beautiful subjects. The problem is we have not been trained to be good conversationalists. And that's one thing I've learned about the truth. I suck at being a good conversationalist. So I have to change. I have to become a good one. And I don't know if I'll ever be as good as Rick Farron, the host of the Six Screens, but we're all aspiring to be like that. And he's like the Rush Limbaugh of the ex-Jehovah's Witness. No, just kidding.
Let me tell you something. Rick is what, 76? If he can stay awake for you, Gilbert, man, he's really a good listener. I'm telling you that. No, that's a kid. I'm joking.
Well, I think it's good. I think it's good that.
Can I ask a quick question? This is more for Maverick. Something you can look up. I'm not trying to put him on the spot. Or anybody. Has anybody ever heard a quote that I know that I read years ago in a Watchtower publication? And it was basically saying either the governing body or the faithful and discreet slave, I'm not exactly sure which, but that they have no more spiritual insight than the average mature Christian. Does anybody ever remember reading that quote in one of their publications?
I do remember.
Well, I think those proves that with every magazine.
No, this was in a publication. I heard somebody.
Challenge accepted.
What's that?
Challenge accepted. I'll find it.
No, I
I'll
don't
find
know
it.
if it's wrong, that exact quote. They try to make themselves
We had a lot of callers calling in at the same time. We've got to. Someone's got a YouTube on. We're getting echoing here, so I'm just gonna block a couple of calls here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. So, anyways, you're on the Six Screens Tele-Network. My name is Rick Farron. We got a bunch of callers calling in. We want to thank them all for doing that. Anyways, we had a lot of good people that call up this program. Gilbert's one of them. He always comes on, makes me look good. I appreciate Gilbert liking the program, and thank you, Gilbert, for the kind words. Yeah, friends, let's go to trivia. Let's go to our Watchtower Duck game, which is Watchtower Trivia. You have an opportunity here to win some money, at least some points for books. Jim Hill out in Washington State, known as Nathan Nathis. He certainly has helped us a lot. He gives us these books, Watchtower Publications, reproductions of them, and we're so glad that he is helping us. Nathan Nathis, you know him from JW Discussion Board. So let's go to the duck game, we call it. We play the Jeopardy music, but we don't want you to answer the question till the music stops. That way everyone has a chance to at least get ready for it. And I want you to call a number out. When the music stops. Then that way I can identify who the caller is, because I got so many people calling into the Six Screens. So why don't we do this? Well, and then I want you to take and use the points for gifts. And if you get 12 points, you guys have to add them up. You have to be on the honor system. I'll give you 1 point for each question asked. And after some total, it could be 2 or 3 weeks, a person gets 12 points. We will give you $100. We'll mail it out to you. So yes.
Yeah, the last time we did this, you asked me how many points I had, and I said I had to count them up. I did count them up. I actually do have 12 points now.
All right, good. Well, you send me your address, and I will send you a check.
You know what? Keep the game going. I'll stay in the game, but give it to the second person who reaches.
Well, I don't do that. We tried that before, but it only goes to the one that answered. I hate to say that, but we ran into a little difficulty there a couple of times. Okay, so we don't do that anymore. You answer the questions, you give us the address, you get a check, but you can still play the game, Zach. You know.
No, I don't mean. I mean the next person to reach 12.
Oh, I say, okay, right.
Yeah, keep the game going. The second person to reach 12.
All right, okay, I got you. All right, it's just
I'm still in just for the fun of it, but
all right.
That way someone else has a chance.
Well, in fact, I just want to, while I got you on here, did you do some research on east of 25 Columbia Heights?
No, I didn't do any research on it.
Well, I went back and looked at it. And I might have to take those 2 points away from you.
You didn't give me 2 points. You gave someone 1 point for the Manhattan Bridge. I mean, for the Brooklyn Bridge, and you gave me 1 for the Manhattan Bridge.
But we were talking about what was east, and according to the map, when you get on there, the United Nations is east of 25 Columbia Heights. You seem to think it was west.
What was your question?
I figure what the question was.
When you look east from the 25 Columbia Heights building, what 2 landmarks do you see?
Right. And what was your
answer? One of the landmarks you said, someone said the Brooklyn Bridge, which I agree with, and I said the Manhattan Bridge.
I figured exactly how it was worded, but I'm going to go back. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back. I'm not going to do it now, but next week I'm going to go back and listen to that, because I did have a person write to me and said that whatever I said was right. I'm going to go back and see exactly what I said so that we no misunderstanding. But we love you, Zach. We love you.
But you did accept Brooklyn Bridge. It's impossible not to accept Manhattan Bridge.
Yeah,
your answers were Brooklyn Bridge and the East River. That's what the answers you wanted.
Right. But you were saying the East, you said something to the effect.
I said the Manhattan Bridge.
All right.
That was my answer.
All right, let me go back. I can't remember now, but let me go back and we'll straighten out next week, and we'll keep we'll straighten out. All right, so let's go to trivia tonight. Let's go to trivia tonight. Let's get in and see. Let me just find out where it was. All right.
And Rick, surely what you say is saying you cannot see the UN from Bethel, Rick, or in the area of Brooklyn Heights.
Well, that was brought up in context of talking about what was east of Brooklyn Heights, and
east of 25 Columbia.
Right. So, anyways, I'll get the exact thoughts on what I'm trying to convey here. I don't have it right in front of me, but there was something that was said that a person wrote me and said, "Rick, you were right." I like to be right, and we'll check it. We'll check it next week. We'll see exactly what it was. Okay. All right. So let's go with this, but don't answer until the music stops. Let me just make sure we got the music set here, ready to go. All right. So this question right here, Zach, see if you can get this. All right. I want someone to fill the blank in. Now, don't answer till the music stops. Since 1985, a Jehovah's Witness is now baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and what, according to the Watchtower? Don't answer till the music stops. All right.
11.
I heard one first.
Mm-hmm. In the name of the Father, this was Zachary. The name of the Father, the Son, and God's Spirit-directed organization.
You got it, Zach. Boy, you got that one. All right, take a point on that. Take a point on that. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. All right. I want you to answer this: true or false? Jehovah's Witnesses have one of the highest turnover rates of any religion. That is, people leaving. Is that true or is that false?
$54.
I heard 50 something. Was that 50? Was that you? Or 53? Was it, or 54?
44.
I heard 55 first. Yeah, it was a 50 something. Go ahead, 55. What's the answer? Is that true or false?
True. The answer is true.
The answer is true. And now I'm going to ask the second question, but I'm not going to put the music on for this one. It's right along the same line of thinking. So, okay, so let me just hold on, scroll down here a little bit. I'm going back and forth on computer screens. They do. So there's more people leaving than other religions. What percentage of Jehovah's Witnesses, or what percentage of people who were raised, that is Jehovah's Witnesses, still identify themselves as Jehovah's Witnesses? What percentage? Who wants to take a shot at it? So,
50%.
no,
No way. One.
no.
Can I say?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, maybe 10%.
No. What percentage of Jehovah's Witnesses who were raised as Jehovah's Witnesses still identify themselves as Jehovah's Witnesses? In fact, I'll give you a little hint. I'll give you a multiple choice. Was it 37%, 50%, or 75% are still Jehovah's Witnesses?
37.
75.
37. Zach, I have to give that to you too. Take a point. Yeah. All right. All right, you got it. Okay. All right.
It was 75%.
It was actually 37% of people who were raised as Jehovah's Witnesses stay Jehovah's Witnesses. That's a low percentage, you know. Most leave. I think that percentage, that's percentage from about 2 years ago. I think now it's even higher. I would say there's probably, you know, I would say that so many more are leaving now than just a couple of years ago. In fact, it should really be, yeah. All right, anyway, let's go next.
You're saying you would think it would be a lower number, a lower percentage that still identify.
I would say lower than higher, right? So it would be probably now. I don't know for sure. I'm just taking a wing at it, but I would say 25% because of all the PIMOs. I'd say 25%, but that I don't know that for sure. Those figures I just gave you were from the Pew report. So it was a survey done on it, on how many Jehovah's Witnesses are still witnesses as they were raised in it. 37%. That was the Pew report, PEW. It's like a church survey they take. So that's that I do know is a fact. But I'm taking a guess today because of the PIMOs. I'd say 25% of people who are raised Jehovah's Witnesses are Jehovah's Witnesses today. So many are leaving. It's unreal. All right, so let's go with this one. Here's the next multiple. It's a multiple choice. Who was the editor of the Watchtower publication, The Golden Age? I'll give you 3 names. In fact, I'll tell you what. I'll give someone 3 points if they knew who that was. And if you don't, I'm going to give you a multiple choice. But who was the editor of The Golden Age? Don't answer till the music stops. Who was the editor of The Golden Age? All right. Let me give you, we will drop down now to 2 points. I'll give you a multiple choice. Who was the editor of The Golden Age? Was it Rutherford? Was it Woodworth? Or was it Barber?
44.
I'll go with one. I'll go with one.
Barber?
No. Give me a number.
It was the other one that wasn't Rutherford.
55.
55. Who was it?
Woodward.
It was Woodworth. Yeah, Woodworth. As a matter of fact, he was the one that spoke of the Golden Age. He knew, in fact, he mentioned that Rutherford was getting his information to dish out meat in due season was coming from angels. And he was the first to really start speaking about that. And of course, we know today what angels were they? Were they good angels or bad angels? Okay, let's go with this. Let's go with true or false. Is chewing nicotine gum a disfellowshipping offense? Answer when the music stops.
44.
I'll go with 1.
I think probably yes.
It is yes. It is yes. Chewing nicotine gum could get you to disfellowship. Good, Zach. Boy, you're doing good, Zach. All right.
Thank you.
Let's go with this.
1973 Watchtower.
You got it. All right. I mean, the Watchtower, as we know, has something negative to always say about a holiday. They hate the worldly holidays, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Flag Day, Christmas, you name a holiday, the Watchtower hates it. What is the one holiday that the Watchtower really doesn't hate or have too much to say about? Tell me when the music stops. What holiday? Number two, was it?
11. Halloween.
Well, they hate that. They hate that.
One.
Go ahead.
One.
Go ahead, Zachary.
This is the one I had a problem with trying to find the reason. Thanksgiving.
Well, they kind of, in other words, even though it's not in print that they hate it, but we know they prefer.
Anniversaries.
They would hope that you didn't celebrate it. So many witnesses don't celebrate Thanksgiving because they're not going to be disfellowship, but they would prefer not to. But there is one holiday the Watchtower doesn't have. Go ahead, 55.
55?
Yeah.
That would be, I'm thinking July 4th.
No, they don't like that. You really shouldn't go to a July 4th parade. Actually, I mean, it might not even be considered a total holiday, but it's a day that the world observes, but the Watchtower just says, no, they don't talk much about it. I'll give you the answer.
One. Good Friday.
No,
Groundhog Day.
it's Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day, right? In fact, that's the only.
Is it Groundhog Day?
It is Groundhog Day, yes.
Wow.
What's the deal about Groundhog Day?
That's wrong.
Hey, do I get a point, Rick?
You do. You do get one. That's exactly.
Oh, what were you? What were you disfellowshipped over? Groundhog Day.
Well, I mean, it's a bizarre question, but it's really, I looked up all the holidays, and the Groundhog Day didn't have too much to say about, but I thought they would have. I would know if they dug deep into it, they would say that it's from some pagan origin, you know. Jeez. All right.
Hey, Brad.
Yes, Nadine.
You know what would be a good question is if someone knows what day Groundhog's Day falls on, which I do.
We do. I know. That's the only day I celebrate.
So that would be a good question.
February 2nd. You can never forget that.
Yeah.
It falls on nice and 14.
Yeah, nice and 14. Yeah. All right. So that's so I mean, you know, well, I'll tell you, I mean, it's not an official holiday, but you know, the Jehovah's Witnesses, as we know, they don't get much chance to do much of anything. They really can't. But I'll tell you what they do. I mean, they don't celebrate or get jumping up and down about Groundhog Day, but they Super Bowl parties is big time in the Jehovah's Witness world. I mean, really, I can remember, you know, you couldn't go to Christmas parties, you couldn't go to birthday parties, you really shouldn't do Thanksgiving, but you could go to a football, you know, Super Bowl party at another witness's house. So I always found that fascinating. So that's a big thing for the witnesses. They don't get a chance to really party over too much. All right, let's go to another question here. I'm hoping Nadine, I want to see Nadine really win here. All right. Okay.
You know what happened, Rick?
What happened?
A couple of questions. I was muted.
You were muted?
I was muted.
I want you to win, Nadine. I'm rooting for you. I'm not gonna give you any hard ones here. I'll try to make it nice
Well, just remember, I am the champion now.
Yes, you are. You are. In fact, you are the champion. All right. So let's go with this one. And on what basis would one of Jehovah's Witnesses avoid purchasing Girl Scout cookies? On what basis would one avoid, that is a Jehovah's Witness, avoid buying Girl Scout cookies? Answer when the music stops.
Ken,
Go ahead, Nadine. 10.
is it because they salute the flag?
No, I'm looking for something
That's-
different. It's close to that, but I really can't give that to you, but I wish I could.
Because it has something to do with they believe in God. They believe in God and they salute the flag. So that's like against their rules.
No.
Seven.
7. Go ahead, 7.
Is it because they proclaim themselves a Christian organization?
No. It's a term that the witnesses use a lot for a number of different things. Why would they say you can't buy Girl Scout cookies? And really, I mean, I bought Girl Scout cookies.
Rick,
Yeah.
Rick, yes, I have no idea. I have never figured out why not. But I'm going to just say because of patriotism or Christian neutrality.
Oh, you're so close. I can't give it to you though. They use this. In fact, they use it also when it comes to Memorial Day and when it comes to Veterans Day. It's a term.
Part of the world?
No, I'll give you the term. It's nationalistic. They say it's nationalistic if you buy Girl Scout cookies.
Doesn't that go along with saluting the flag?
Well, it could, but it could also be singing the national anthem.
That would be going along with patriotism.
Yeah, it could go. Yes, patriotism, I'd say, was the closest, but no one got it, but that's okay. Let's go to the next one here. All right. All right. Okay, let's do this. We all remember the ministry school, and most of the people listening to this program participated in the ministry school. I want you to give to me 2 things that you could be counseled on in the ministry school. Answer when the music stops.
One.
55.
7.
I'll go with 1. I heard Zachary number 1.
Let me, just for clarification, are you talking about points on the slip that you could be counseled for?
Well, a ministry school teacher, and I was him for a while. And if a person gave a talk, I would, or a ministerial school teacher would counsel them. Name 2 things you could be counseled on.
Volume, audience help to reason, sense stress, coherence through connected.
There you go. That's 3 right there. That's good, Zachary.
That was 6. Thank you.
Was it 6? Yeah, very good. If someone can mention one other thing.
I would say.
Hold on.
6.
We have to go with numbers here. Did I hear number 6?
I think illustration.
Who is this? Is this Donnie out of England?
It's Donnie. It's Donnie, yes.
Well, Donnie, take a point. It's illustrations is one. Now, in fact, Nadine, if you can give me another one, I'll give you a point. I know you're trying. Yeah.
Wasn't it repetition of emphasis?
Yes, repetition for emphasis. I'll give you a point on that. Yes. Anyone else want to get a? Anyone? Go ahead, 7. You want to get a point? 7. Go ahead.
55. I was going to say timing.
Timing. Take a point. 55.
55.
Yeah, 55.
Enunciation.
What was it?
Enunciation and pronunciation.
Yes, you got it. So that's good. See, these are the things you guys remember. These are the things we were counseled on. All right, let's go to the next question. Hold your points. All right. All right, this has to basically do with an ex-witness question, not a witness question, but don't answer until the music stops. Who is the webmaster, or who was the webmaster of Free Minds? Who was the webmaster of Free Minds? This was one of the 55. Who was it?
Reed.
No, it wasn't Reed. Now, this man, in fact, it was one of the first websites exposing the Jehovah's Witnesses.
One.
Go ahead, one.
Nine. Was it Bill Bowen?
No, he was one of the first, but not this one.
Nine.
Go ahead, 9.
Yes, this is Thomas Hawk. I think it's Randall Waters, I believe.
You got it, Thomas. Take a point.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Randall Waters, and he's been on the 6 screens numerous times. Poor Randy really had a rough time I think you all know the story. He came on and told it here on the 6 screens that he lived in the beach, Manhattan Beach in California. Beautiful place. Him and some other men all rented a nice on the beach, right on the beach. In fact, it was Manhattan Beach, as I say, in California. And they, I don't know, the 4 or 5 guys lived there and they all shared the rent. And then the landlord, with all the prices going up a few years ago, he said, gee, Randy, the price is going to go up, and the guys just couldn't afford it. It was just too much. So the landlord, I guess, sold it off, I think, to a condo developer. And consequently, they lost their beautiful home. Randy was so sad over that, but it really devastated him. It really did. It really put him into a tailspin. The poor man had a very difficult time, but he came on the program talking all about that. All right, let's go to another question and see what we can come up with here. All right, let's go down here a little bit. All right, we talked about that one. I'm trying to get no repeats here. All right, just give us a second here. All right. Hold on 1 second. I'm looking for an easy one for Nadine. I'm looking for a very easy one for Nadine. Nadine, are you ready?
Yes, Rick.
All right, I'm going to give you a real easy one here. Rutherford, when he was in the 7th grade, the one subject that he really hated, what would that be?
1.
Is there music?
No, it wasn't music. Zach?
1.
History.
We're calling out answers here. Could you just tell us his zodiac sign that we can get him somewhere with? Was it mathematics? Math.
How are you going to answer? Are you going to give a no?
Well, I just it's kind of a trick question. I wanted to see. I'll tell you what I wanted to see. There is no answer because I don't know. But I wanted to see what you guys thought. But who said mathematics?
I said history because he sucked on history.
I was trying to say math.
I said mathematics.
Well, it's a toss-up. In other words, I don't know what it would be, but history or mathematics. I kind of lean. I like the math, but the more I think about it, I like history. I think he might have liked.
I think judging by his size.
Religious education.
What does Donnie say?
Religious education.
Religious education. He certainly didn't have any religious education. Yeah.
I'm kind of forgetting what the question was.
All right. So what it was a trick question. I was just trying to see what you guys thought. I wanted to see what you guys, because we have a smart audience. I wanted to see what you thought. All right.
Well, Rick, I said history because he sucked at history, obviously.
Yeah.
That's why I said.
Well, it was a good thought. In fact, it could have been anything. But here's another one I'm going to throw out about Rutherford. Can someone?
He majored in law, didn't he?
Well, he was a lawyer, and then he became. Well, he wasn't a judge. He just filled in for judge. Yeah, but he never really. They called him Judge Rutherford, but he got that name because he was a lawyer, and the court from time to time would let him, become the judge when the judge didn't show up or whatever. So that's how he got that term. Yeah. All right. All right, let's move down here. We'll do one more. All right, one more. All right, let's go with this category right here, things that Jehovah's Witnesses can't do. All right. So I'm going to name a few things, and you tell me. Well, in fact, I'm not even going to name them, but I think I will. Sometimes I hesitate to go back and forth. So I'm gonna give you a multiple choice here. Things Jehovah's Witnesses can't do. They can't have two of the following items. I'm gonna give you some items, and these are things they can't have. A Jehovah's Witness can't have or own a wind chime, an Indian corn on the door, blue Noxzema jars. What? So, what? I won't even do the music. I'll go with seven. Seven.
Okay, I missed the. It's going to be number 2. I missed what you said.
Okay, well, I'll give you the multiple choice.
So just number 2 is my.
Number 2 was, well, let's see, it's a toss up between Noxzema jars and Indian corn. Well, they can't have Indian corn on the door. You all know what that is, right? You see it mostly in the fall. People put like corn on the door. A witness can't do that. Well, why do you think a witness can't do that?
Probably because it would be celebrating a holiday. They would associate it with a holiday.
Well, it's more of a pagan thing.
I thought it was conflicting with the miracle week.
Well, yeah. That's good, Maverick, too. Yeah, that's good too. So they can't have wind chimes either. They can't have wind chimes.
I was going to say wind chimes.
Yeah, but they can have a blue. They can have a blue Noxzema jar. Do you have any blue Noxzema jars? I'll give you a point for every one you have, Nadine.
I have 12.
I know.
I have 12 Noxzema jars.
Yeah. So the question was, what can a witness have? Wind chimes, Indian corn, and Noxzema jars. Indian corn and wind chimes. All right. Let's go to the next one. I think you guys like that. What witness can?
Did I get a point for that one?
Yeah, yes, you do, Stefan. Yes. Yep.
But Rick, what was the answer why they can't have the corn on their door?
Well, it's pagan.
Oh, that's what I thought. Yeah.
It's pagan. Yeah.
It's like celebrating a holiday, like too close to Halloween.
Yeah. In fact, it was a good answer. It was a very good answer, but it's really based on paganism, not on anything else. Yeah. All right. All right. Let's go to another one then. Okay. All right. So let's go with this one. I want you to name some things. In fact, these things witnesses can't own, and I'll give it to you, and we'll do it without the music this time. They can't own a brown belt. They can't own fishnet stockings. They can't own flip-flops. So what would the answer be? Would it be fish?
Fishnet stockings.
I'll go with 83. What do you say, PJ?
Fishnet stockings.
Yeah, fishnet stockings. Yeah. And they can't own that. So yeah, you get a point. Take a point, JP.
That's another one of those answers that's regional.
Well, but it is something that, I can't tell you for sure a person, well, you'd never be disfellowshipped for wearing fishnet stockings. Maybe a man would, but a woman wouldn't.
Fishnet stockings. They were one of the clothes that they used to talk about in the awake. Fishnet stockings, and also because they were just like, I guess, extreme.
They were worldly.
And also, there was also another one. It was window panes.
Window panes?
Yeah, they were stockings with bigger squares.
Oh, I don't
know. Idea of fishnets, but they were bigger,
Yeah.
Look at those older weights.
All right, he says,
Window pane, you're talking what are window?
I'll,
Hey, Rich, I had the answer to that about fishnet stockings.
yeah.
Stefan,
The,
there's always
the
a
reason,
problem with Windows. There's always a problem with Windows in the organization, no?
Window
They don't like Windows.
stocking.
Now I see why everybody wants to be a video watcher.
All right. Well, yeah, well, yes.
the reason why Watchtower banned fishnet stockings, it's in the 1978 Watchtower, and Zach will know this, but the reason why they banned fishnet stockings is because it would detract from making fishers of men.
Oh, that's geez, you guys have got creative minds. I'll tell you what, it's unreal. All right.
In the 1978 Watchtower, June 15th, page 16, paragraph 500.
Well, don't confuse Jack exactly. He might start looking it up. All right.
You can look in window pane stockings. You can type it into Google and look at images, and make sure you have your filter on. You know.
Yeah. Huh. I never heard of that one, Zach.
They were they were on the idea of fishnet. Fishnets, the bigger, the larger the fishnet thing, the worse, the quicker they would tell you not to wear them.
Oh, I got you. Oh, I know because they look kind of like a little chintzy, you know. All right. So let's go with this. During the 1970s, there was a new stylish trend, and many of the brothers started wearing this jacket. It was a certain cut, and this jacket was called what?
One. 7.
Let's go with one. Nehru. Can you explain the Nehru jacket, Zach?
It had a kind of collar that it's almost, well, you know what it reminds you of, the type that Chinese wear. It had a collar that went straight up and did not fold back down. The lapel did not fold back down. It just went straight up. I think.
You're right. It was like a small little collar rather than a regular tailored looking collar. Is a little different. Yeah. All right. Good. That's good enough. I'll go with that. Let's go one more. Then we'll have to end the game. One more. Let me get a good one. I'm trying to find a nice easy one here for Nadine. Okay, Nadine. In 1951, the Watchtower had an article specifically directed to people of the Jonadab class. Could you tell me what page that was on, Nadine? Trying to give you an easy one.
Can you repeat the question, Rick?
Yeah, in 1951, the Watchtower addressed a lengthy article on the Jonadab class. Could you tell me what specific page that was on? Zachary, one, go ahead.
I can tell you, if it's a 1951 Watchtower, the word Jonadab probably was on page 1 because they used to list the titles.
Oh, that was just kind of making up a question there for poor Nadine, but they did have articles. I mean, who would know what page it was on, right? So let's give Nadine yeah. Go ahead.
What if it is on page 1 of the Watchtower you just mentioned?
If it is, I'll give you a point. I'll go back and look at it. I got them, but I don't have them here in Chicago with me. All right. We'll go one more. And then, all right, one more. And then, all right, hold on. Boy, getting this okay.
So this question,
all right. Now this is a true or false? True or false? The watch. Okay, someone's got the.
Since 1985.
Hold on.
Jehovah's Witnesses now baptized in the name of the Father, the Son,
All right. Someone's got their recording on or something.
Rick, did you ask that one already?
Well, that's someone recorded and was playing it back just to confuse us. Yeah, it gets very confusing sometimes. All right, let me go down here. I had a question, I just lost it, but let's go back and get it here now. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. I got a whole lot of questions, and if you move too quick, you can lose them. Well, let me just do this one. How many cylinders was Joseph Rutherford's Cadillac? How many cylinders in his? Go ahead.
11.
1.
Let's go with 11.
12 cylinders.
How many?
12.
No, it wasn't 12. No, it wasn't 9.
95.
55. 83. Go ahead. 83. Go ahead.
16 cylinders.
16 cylinders. You're 16 cylinders, right? And that's a pretty big engine, right? But Rutherford had 2 Cadillacs. Well, what color were they?
Metal.
His Cadillac was yellow.
Nadine, I'm going to give Nadine take a point. I'm glad you got a point.
Wait a minute. I said that first.
Who's that?
This is Stephen.
Oh, Stefan, did you say it first? I didn't.
Yes, I did. Exactly. Did you hear me say it?
No.
I kind of.
Exactly. Where's the doing?
I kind of did hear it. Stefan, take a point too. Okay, I got to be good sport here. Take a point. Okay.
It was banana color. It was banana color.
Yeah, the bright yellow. All right. Well, I guess we have to end it there. We do not have Eric coming on tonight. Eric is traveling back to Maine from Tennessee, but we'll have him on in 2 weeks, and we're looking forward to him and his new wife hosting the program, Awakening After the Watchtower. What?
I wanted to just pop in and say hello tomorrow. How would I go about it?
Tomorrow there'll be no. Tomorrow. Well, actually, I'll tell you, I've got so many things, Stefan. I would like to see you. I might hang around till Monday or Tuesday. Tomorrow, I got some stuff planned. I got to go up to Schaumsburg. But I'll tell you what, if you would email me with your telephone, okay? And see if we can't meet up while I'm out here, okay?
Yeah, because Monday I'll be in the morning anyway.
Oh, will you really? All right. Well, let's. I'll give you a call. Email me with your telephone number. I don't want you to give it here, but email me and I see if we can at least meet up and have a cup of coffee or something. Okay. Good. Thank you, Stefan. All right. Well, friends, I want to thank you all for coming into the Six Screens Telenetwork tonight. And we had a shortened version tonight because Eric, like I say, is traveling back to Maine from Tennessee. So we'll have the program in 2 weeks. His program, but we'll be back in next Saturday night. And JW World News, I think we're going to get Barbara Anderson back on with us. So thank you for coming in. Thank you for sharing your night with us. And thank you all for being good sports and answering the questions and calling in. We really do appreciate it. And I want to tell all of you to keep waving that flag of victory. Don't you ever give in, up or out. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. Thank you. We will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.